this
How
goes.
the fuck is this stream fucking up like this?
Did the game start?
Nah, it's still tip off. They're just shooting around.
Big in Tokyo. I wanna be big in Tokyo. Big in Tokyo. I wanna be big in Tokyo. Big in Tokyo. I wanna be big in Tokyo. Big in Tokyo. I wanna be big in Tokyo.
I didn't get to talk to you about
Drink
it.
all the
I'm not
sake I want. Read all the manga I want. Wear all the bape that I want. Buy all the J's that I want. Be with any girl that I want. Drive any car that I want. I'm always out of the country. I'm sorry if I ain't home. If the money ain't calling, I never answer my phone. You can see the flow in my chakra. All we smoke is homegrown. You know the boy love ramen. Probably sipping on me, so I know a spot that has shield. I got a spot that has deals. Wait till I get a kimono. I'ma swag it out in my dojo. Some girls are asking for a photo. I guess this happens in Kyoto. When you young and popping in Kyoto. I ball with all of my nakamas. I dance with all of my nakamas. I drink with all of my nakamas, yeah. I only listen to Cole. I touch down with peace. Hiro isekai, shinara irekai. You are my enemy, you are no friend of me. You covered in jealousy, we only drink Hennessy. Big in Tokyo, I wanna be big in Tokyo. Big in Tokyo, I wanna be big in Tokyo. Big in Tokyo, I wanna be big in Tokyo. Big in Tokyo, I wanna be big in Tokyo. When I got money, you know it. When you got money, you blow it. How much you caught me a rollie? I'm living like Zach and Cody. Sweet like from young in the OG. From young, we learned to maneuver. I pick up a skirt in a Uber. I grew up with killers and shooters. No tell, but I think I'm cooler. I used to sleep with a deuce. I'm the moon god, got the juice. You switching sides like the man Bruce. Tight circle, cut the loose ends. No, I can go on vacation. You cannot escape from the matrix. I wrote all this shit in the basement. Art is my new occupation. Let's meet up at Kennedy Station. I've been at studio all day. I'd rather just make it the hard way. Sitting back while I'm looking up. Remember backyards cooking up. I just wanna be big. I wanna be big. Big in Tokyo. I wanna be big in Tokyo. Big in Tokyo. I wanna be big in Tokyo. Big in Tokyo. I wanna be big in Tokyo. Big in Tokyo. I wanna be big in Tokyo. Drink all the sake I want. Read all the manga I want. Wear all the bass that I want. Buy all the J's that I want. Be with any girl that I want. Drive any car that I want.
What the fuck do I want now? Since I got this from my mom, I don't know what the hell I want.
And I remember the first time. And I remember the first time. First time. First time.
We live right now?
First time. And
Alright, good. I'm glad I asked before I said something.
And I remember the first time.
We only meet once in a while anyway.
I guess you're on mute when I.
It's gonna be lonely not being able to see you anymore.
Yeah. I was inside. I was finna petition for a second girlfriend, but you know.
Wasn't
a good idea.
I'm sorry?
What? Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Oh, you worry about it.
All right. Let me put myself on screen for a second.
I heard every last word you said. That's crazy.
Okay, so. It is what it is. How y'all motherfuckers doing?
It is what it is.
Yes, sir. Welcome. So a lot of y'all know I got like another channel where me and my best friend, we talk about some real ish. We talk about like dating, men and women, politics, fashion, fitness, finances, and all those good things. And I'm kind of still experimenting with that channel, so I wanted to do a podcast where I guess I call it best friends, associates, inner circle. I don't know. I'll come up with a name for it. It's cool, where we're kind of talk about some more like realer issues and just see how it goes here, see how it goes on the channel. I want to test it out. Might as well before my channel gets locked into any particular algorithm. But before I keep going, how y'all boys doing?
Okay, I exist.
Salute. I've been good. I've been resting for 3 days and 3 nights.
Mm-hmm.
I've been better, but I'm getting a lot better.
Yeah, me and you were. I just heard about what happened with you. I'm not gonna say it here, but yeah, my condolences and all that. But okay, I saw my
I'll tell you
camera
about it after
freeze,
this
so I'm
stream.
about to just try to get out of there. I'm not even fighting it today. Just get out of there. But all right, yeah. So we got a couple of topics. Call it the boys. I don't know. Well, I'll have something. I promise. It'll make sense soon. I don't have anything too crazy today to hop into and dissect, but yeah, we're gonna talk about it. So, wait, Lizard, you didn't say how you were doing. People need to know you're okay, bro. They need to know. Is he here? Is he muted?
You good, Lizard? I don't know what's going. I heard stuff moving around. I don't know what's going on.
He's not here. He's on deafen. Dang, y'all so fucking pathetic.
I can't see. Man,
I'm looking at the stream, sir.
Yeah, I'm not, nobody looking at that, man.
I got Discord closed, my guy. All right.
Yeah. Well, Lizard said he was doing excellent when he told me earlier, and he said I was bad for not being excellent earlier. So I'm gonna just pass that message around to all y'all. He said it was a choice.
He said, "All right, never mind." He said, "Never mind." I guess the setup was nice, but all right. Before I hop into anything like major or whatever, and I don't think I really spoken to you guys about this at all. When you guys first initially heard like Elon was like gonna buy Twitter and stuff? Did you care? Did you freak out? Either good or bad? Were you neutral? Like, what are you guys' general thoughts on it? And I'll follow up on like what's going on now.
I mean, it just made me roll my eyes. Like, I don't care, but I feel like to ask me if I'm in support of he. No, not really. But like, I don't really care either. But it's just another fucking person with more money than sense doing stuff, I guess. And then the fact that this is one big fucking roundabout that still hasn't seen its conclusion yet just makes me roll my eyes even more. But yeah.
Let me go second because I'm finna be in this line. The only thing I worried about potentially was the acquiring of everybody's data, because Elon's part of that AI type shit, so that could be like potentially sort of kind of be a weird little problem depending on how you feel about that and stuff like that. So him acquiring Twitter could just be like a lot of people's personal data and stuff like that. So depending on how you feel about that type of stuff, that could be an issue. But other than that, he's kind of, what's the right word? He's kind of a half-asser to me. Like what I see when it comes
he is.
Yeah, when it comes to stuff like this. So it's just kind of like, it was kind of always kind of 50-50 if he was actually going to do it or not. So
I'm glad you said that, Vince, because that leads directly to how I felt. When they said he was going to buy Twitter, I completely ignored it because I knew it was never going to happen. He woke up one day and decided, how can I stir the pot a little bit? How can I make people put the focus on me? And that's what he did. He said, I'm going to go buy Twitter. If he wanted to buy Twitter, he would have just straight up did it. He wouldn't have made a whole announcement and stuff and all that stuff.
Was Sting still on deafen?
Yes.
Everybody was panicking. Oh my God, we're gonna have to pay for Twitter. No, you're not.
Okay.
You don't have to pay
rich
for
people
Instagram
doing
or
rich
Facebook.
stuff. I
You're not
felt
gonna
that.
pay for
What's
Twitter.
up, Glam? Glam, you can hop in if you want.
I'll say though, I'm glad he at least acted like he did, because they got all my accounts back, because Jack and them boys had to, they had to act like they had more people than they actually did. They're like, oh, let me start unsuspending accounts and stuff like that. I mean, I wish it would have happened like 2 years earlier, because now they don't really have a place, but at least I got them back.
Fair.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of my enemies rise from the grave.
I guess my follow up before I say something is, how well, I guess, tapped into Elon Musk and his life and things that he done and accomplished were you, or are you? Because I knew nothing about the dude except for literally you bring up Elon, I just think of the pass the booth meme. That's it. That's all I had. I had nothing else. I didn't know what the fuck this nigga does. So
yeah.
He doesn't do anything. But
he doesn't do anything. He's not smart. He just
don't
has a
do
lot
that.
of money.
Don't do that. Don't do that. He's a billionaire. You You don't fluke your way to billions. But
He
yeah,
was
Yeah,
born into money.
I didn't.
that's how you get to it.
I
It's
didn't.
not hard.
I didn't say he wasn't, but I don't. I find it very, very like if like you could be dumb and become a billionaire. I think a lot of people would do it,
They don't have money, Naya. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
bro. Even if you take $1 million, like, oh, Donald Trump, I got a small loan of $1 million, you flip that to $1 billion, you're still good at making money, bro. I hear what you're saying. I'm not doubting that, but I think that's a disingenuous take to call the man dumb. There's something he understands about, finances, money, and the socio-economical status of other people and whatnot that he can either manipulate it to his will, do it through legal means, whatever. I don't think you get that rich without blood in your hands, but that's always I've never really liked people calling the man dumb, I guess. I don't know for a fact. He could be dumb as shit, but my point is that take never doesn't sound right to me. I don't know. Maybe that's
You know what? Fair enough. He may be somewhat intelligent on accruing profits. I'll give him that much. But every time I hear this man speak, it's nothing intelligent.
He's to fix them mid cars. Obama said. I didn't care because I don't really use it.
Stole it.
Yeah, I had heard about. I'm just trying to enjoy watching all the drama because it's hella funny, especially with the things Twitter is trying to hide coming to light. There's that. He's just trying to prank the far left again. I don't I don't care. He once again he realized it's gonna burn through his money. He's not gonna buy it. I thought of Iron Man 2. That's interesting. I kind of see why Elon needs to fix the midnight sky as a man. At least knows the hustle. Yeah. It's just kind of like when I hear Trump speak, right? He doesn't sound particularly intelligent to me, and I personally don't find him charismatic, but a lot of people do. So he's doing something right. You feel what I'm saying? So I don't think he's the smartest, sharpest tool in the tool shed, but I would be reluctant to call a billionaire dumb. That's all I'm saying, from top to bottom at least. But all right. So have you at all followed any of the the ongoing debates about him? Like, he's either the savior of free speech or he's gonna destroy it completely. Do you have any more tempered, middling takes or no? Are you on either sides of those things? Just out of curiosity.
No, I'm largely indifferent.
Well, no, yeah, I'll say I'm indifferent, but to give a definite answer, I am. He's not gonna. He's not the savior of fucking free speech. I don't even know where that fucking rhetoric is coming from. But yeah, he's not no fucking savior of free speech.
Most right wing media are saying that. Most, not all, but a lot of them are saying that.
I know, and I'm like, he's. If he was to buy freaking Twitter, it's not going to somehow turn to this big giant fucking free land, free real estate place where you could just fucking do and say whatever as they could swear that it's going to be. So if you're to force me to pick a side, it's no, he's not the savior of free speech.
Okay.
But
so
generally speaking, yeah, me don't care.
So I'll say.
I don't even think he's gonna.
There
buy
you
it,
go.
But that's just.
Sorry.
Yeah, my bad. I really just don't believe he's gonna buy it because I mean, I don't have me on hand, but I've seen some shit where it's like, he'll just make more money if he just doesn't he's doing some stock stuff, so that's why I really just haven't I don't have any opinion because I just don't think he's gonna buy it, so it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Okay, so for the people who are kind of championing him, right, and saying that he's going to save free speech and stuff, and say that he's already done a lot of things like expose the kind of more realistic, active Twitter users by kind of calling out the bots and stuff, and some people believe. Again, I'm just trying to get a feel for like everyone's kind of wavering opinions. I'm just shooting at all the things that I've heard. Some people were saying that apparently I think this is the first quarter where you got to share your earnings with just your shareholders and whatnot are coming up, and apparently some people thought he was actually a genius for trying to buy it now because obviously Twitter's overall worth was going to be devalued because of damn it, there's a word they use where it's one person has 8 accounts. I think I remember what the word was. But then a lot of bots and stuff, and then some people think he's just trying to expose that. He doesn't actually care about buying it. He wants to just expose that they shadow ban certain type of content, they censor and suppress certain type of content, and they shouldn't be doing that. and that's why he wanted when he bought it, he wanted access to everything to see if they're actually doing it. Did you guys see anything about the Project Veritas stuff?
Never heard of it.
Oh shit.
No, I didn't. I haven't seen anything. But then again, I guess I haven't really gone out of my way to like look for stuff. What you said earlier, I've heard some of that stuff. Like I said, to me, he's kind of a half-asser. I think he really did have some intent, but I think he just don't want to pull the trigger on it. To be honest with you.
Okay.
So, well, I guess that you can kind of argue that if you actually had it to that point, but I don't know if his actual intent was what they're thinking of that level of complexity. Maybe I could be underestimating him,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm of the same opinion of you that I think he's good at certain types of things, and he's good at certain types. I don't necessarily think that like he executes everything that he's given credit for. He's just given credit for every single thing associated with Tesla and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I doubt seriously that's all him, or maybe who knows if even majority him. But
Mm-hmm.
I
So.
don't think he's dumb or anything like that. I just think he's just people overstate how
Mm-hmm.
smart maybe he really is, or how much he has to do with the growth and this and that of Tesla and stuff like that. So
So Lost Child, you said that his idea to make open source is what had me intrigued beyond basic Twitter meltdown. What does that actually mean if the algorithm is open source? Does that mean anyone can see what does that mean? I actually don't. I've heard that before, but I don't actually understand what that means. If something is open source like that, but I'll look it up in a second, or maybe type it out. But so Project Veritas, it had this video where one of the Twitter engineers were admitting the company has a left wing bias. So I think on Tuesday afternoon, he asked if it was legit. And Project Veritas apparently tends to do stuff like this, just in kind of general. But anyways, Asiru, I'm not gonna try to say his last name. I'm gonna butcher it. Described by Project Veritas was senior engineer at the company and said it was commie as f. He said many employees were angry and worried about Elon Musk takeover of the company, and all we could do, and I did all we can do to revolt against it. He also said that Twitter had operated an extremely left-wing, lax culture where people could take any time off they wanted and not worry about profit. He told the undercover operative there was a bias against conservatives and said Twitter does not believe in free speech. Thoughts on that?
Twitter doesn't believe in free speech.
Yeah.
What?
What a lot of depending on where you get I don't know about you, right? When I read news, I like to get it from multiple places, right? Because I can tell when something is charged or done in bad faith or it's intellectually dishonest. It's one of the easiest things for me to tell about something I'm reading. And I remember I went into journalism. I literally had to learn how to do this. Be objective and impartial when you're talking about certain news, right? There is a general belief by a lot of people that, generally speaking, there is a certain type of content that is pushed, forced, and out in the open. And if you have any beliefs that are contrary to that, you're generally suppressed, shadow banned, kicked off the app, or whatever the case is, or you have to search really hard to find them. So more often than not, more people on the right believe that their views are constantly being suppressed or not equally represented in, I call it the idea arena. Do you agree with this or no?
Fully disagree with that.
Speak on
You
it.
said their ideas are being suppressed.
Yeah.
Like, was
No.
there not an entire popular? I mean, I believe she still has that account. An entirely popular account because it was simply a fucking right wing white woman who was pro gun laws. Y'all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There are countless accounts that are highly popular like that all over Twitter. You don't need to go searching for them. As a matter of fact, they way more frequently pop up on my timeline than anything.
Give me an
I
example.
mean, um, just recently, fucking this is it. This is in the realm of freaking pro wrestling actually. But recently, two black wrestlers in WWE walked out because they didn't want to do something. Right?
Yeah.
They was on contract. So once that happened, people started talking about if they was in support of them and whatnot, right? So then recently after that, McFoley made a tweet that said, um, if you're a white supremacist, don't follow me. All right. I don't even follow him. So I just heard about this. After he made that tweet, what do I see on my timeline? A bunch of discourse on what is white supremacy, and that if simply disagreeing with other people makes you a white supremacist and whatnot. I didn't have to go searching for any of that. And this is actually within a topic that I follow, entertainment, wrestling, right? So I didn't have to go looking for that. And even just with the fucking Buffalo shooting, I didn't have to go looking for any pro pro gun laws or any right wing accounts or anything like that. Just look clicking on the freaking the whatchamacallit, the search tab on the mobile app. Show me accounts that are like that. Unfortunately, I can't. I really wish I remember what that freaking bitch name was.
Well,
But
someone said, "Is she talking about the chick on Facebook that's blonde who had a show?" I don't know who you're talking about in the slightest. I have no idea what you're talking about. The only Facebook show I know is the Red Table.
Was it Laura something? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Laura Inagram, whatever.
Oh,
so
Is it her
Damn, I
from,
can't-
from
That
Fox
was
News,
Laura
the one that told
Looking
LeBron
bitch.
to shut up and dribble? That girl?
nah, there was another one. I forgot her name. I'm not looking at the chat either, by the way. So I'm sorry if I'm not paying attention to what y'all saying. But
Tommy Lauren?
damn, I fuck. Yeah, there you go. There she is. That's her
Ah.
name.
Mm,
Yeah.
What?
You think I ever go looking for an account
no.
during the peak of her popularity? Do you think I ever went looking for an account? Her account appeared on my freaking timeline at least like thrice a week,
Was it a
and I don't
retweet?
follow her.
Or just kind of like.
Retweets, quote tweets, subtweet, all of that. That's not shadow banning. Means your shit is not appearing on nothing unless you have like a direct link to it. So to say that they're being shadow banned, biasly being shadow banned, is flat out incorrect in my opinion.
Okay.
I see all those
It's
type
just
of
not true.
yeah, I see all those extreme opinions without me having to do anything at all. And the same goes for freaking the left too. I see both of them
Okay.
a lot. So I don't
See,
I don't think that's correct at all.
the
But I feel like
problem
I'm rambling.
in the political sphere is that the left, while they steadily accrue more and more power in the Senate and Congress and stuff like that, instead of focusing on accomplishing tasks and shunning bipartisanship to the side, they keep trying to work with their Republican colleagues because they're taking the higher road, da da da, this, that, and the third. And they constantly blame their Republican colleagues in the same breath when they can't get stuff done. So then that creates a cycle of liberal people constantly complaining and whining, which annoys people to no end. And it makes it so that they can't form coherent and solid arguments over stuff that's actually things that are that they are right about, but it's the way that they're phrasing it and coming across that's making it so annoying. And then with the right, they have all these conspiracy theories and they're batshit insane and straight up racist and intellectually dishonest that I just can't listen to anything they say because they're so goddamn ignorant.
Okay.
So when they say stuff like they're being shadow banned, it's lies.
Yeah, they're not being. That's not the definition of shadow banning. Like, yeah, they're not. Again, if I can see, I don't follow any type of political accounts at all. And if I can see tweets from both ends, especially freaking extreme type tweets without having to search anything, you're not shadow banned.
People just don't want to see that.
Yeah, they're using a buzz that whatever the hell that fucking page is or whatever, they're using a buzz term. They're not being shadow banned. Isn't there a tweet? I mean, well, Jack is not in charge of Twitter anymore, but isn't there a literal tweet that as people like to use when They're complaining that freaking extremist accounts are allowed, but people who be chilling just using Twitter normally get suspended. Where Jack said that he thinks it's cool that people could freely share their opinion or whatever the fuck. I know y'all know what tweet I'm talking about too.
I really don't.
You've seen it before. You've seen it
You'd be
before.
surprised how much.
I've definitely seen it, but I need to find it and have it on hand.
Yeah, exactly. See, all of you have seen it before because the amount of times people have used it, you've seen it before. You're just drawing a blank, but you've seen it before. The
Yeah,
way that people
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, he literally said something like, "I think it's cool that people can share their opinions or whatever the fuck." And that was supposed to allegedly be in response to all the extremist accounts saying just whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're not being shadow banned at all. They're just using a recent buzzword to fucking seem like they're being victimized. They're not.
Okay. Vince and Lizard, do you want to chime in at all?
I just want to say that shit that that whole like first of all, you know, I think we are talking about this before, like a couple days ago now, and I said that there was some research or whatever. I posted it in the Dolphin Street, but it's from Twitter, so I don't know if you're gonna take that. I know how, like.
Well,
you know,
I have to see who. I'll look at it, but I'll have to see who. You know, I know Twitter's not news to me, but
no, it's like Twitter, the company itself did like a research on their own political content and algorithm, if that makes sense. So, you know, take that for a thing. I just find the whole like, oh, they're a bunch of commie shit so funny, man. Like, I promise you, none of these workers, most of these workers are just liberals, if that. But yeah, none of them are communists. I just that's all I have to say. And I don't think the right are being shadow banned at all.
okay.
I just
I've seen both sides complain about extremism from each other's side, so it's not like I've both heard both sides be like, "How do y'all let people talk about this and this from the right and the left?" I think the right just kind of feels like that because the Trump thing happened. I think honestly that's where a lot of it stems from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I said, bro. Like the problem is the left when they complain, they do it constantly and they whine. They're like man children, and it annoys people. But I would rather put up with that than what the right does, where they straight up incite violence and they brainwash people.
the whole. Oh yeah, to add to that, Pat. Yeah, I mean, my
You guys
thing
don't
is
think the left brainwash people too?
They do,
They
but like they
absolutely
don't
brainwash.
brainwash
The
people to
difference is
hurt
they're not
others.
inciting violence. That's the big difference. They're not inciting violence.
Is that you actually believe that?
What violence do they be
I,
inciting?
you would have to give me an example.
Okay, well, so I would argue they both do it, right? So, in a different way, I think here's what I would say. I can't particularly say that I can't think of an example off the top of my head. If I find one, I'll find one. But I'll say they're definitely extremely okay with extreme violence. I see that a lot. Tap dancing on people they don't like that are dead. I see them saying, you could, like I know, like punch a Nazi or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that,
I
but
see
like,
that too.
but they do a lot of
not.
they do a lot of performative, demonstrative stuff like that, which I think it's hard for me to. It's hard. This is kind of a hard frame of mind for me to get into because no one can make me do anything. No one could speak words and I go, I want to go shoot people. It doesn't make sense to me. My brain works normally. So regardless of what I do and don't believe, the concept of like, oh, I play Grand Theft Auto and now I'm stealing cars. I don't understand that. I'd have to get into the mind of somebody who did something like that because they heard X, Y, and Z say this. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to remember. I think there was a shooter or someone did something. Someone did something in the name of Bernie Sanders. Wait, someone did something in the name of Bernie Sanders, and I was like, it's not his fault. Like you can't put that on him. That some lunatic wanted to go on and act something out and be like, I'm voting for Bernie, blah blah. Like I'm like, I can't blame Bernie for that. He may have said what he said and believe what he said, but that doesn't mean that he put a battery in that person's back to go commit violence. But what's up, Miles?
Hi.
It's
happening?
the way that they're phrasing it. What's up, Miles?
Seems pretty serious. What are we talking about?
Real stuff.
I'll send you the show notes. Give me a sec. But
I assume is this the Buffalo shooter?
no, I wasn't necessarily talking about that. We're talking about a
Uh,
bunch of things, but I'll just send it to you so you know what's going on. So just wait a sec. But sorry, Pat. See what you're gonna say, or whoever was
Yeah,
talking.
it's the way that the right frames what they say to people that is so dangerous to me because they'll say things like you're being erased.
Okay.
Like they'll try to get people to feel like they're completely and woefully inadequate and everything that they hold dear is being taken away from them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people get up and then just decide to start shooting minorities.
Hmm.
The left will do this thing where they'll be like, they'll try to gaslight people, like, oh, because you didn't vote, this is why this happened.
Okay.
By the way, Pat, I just want to add to the thing. I really think the Democratic left, yeah, like I think at some point, like some of them, like especially what's that word called, like the company or whatever, the company Democrats, if that makes sense, or
Corporate.
like the more older Democrats,
Yeah,
they know,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Hmm.
I feel like they know what they're going in with the whole bipartisanship. Like at this point, you know, fool me once, shame
They
on
know.
you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
They know. They know. They know. I
And
can't
I
say
think,
any names because I'm a government employee, but
yeah.
in a year, I'm gonna have some words for certain people in there.
And you know how much of a joke that is? First of all, you have Joe Manchin, who's basically a Republican acting like a Democrat. Like, let's be
There's a
real
lot of
here.
No
grifters. There's
comment.
a lot of
No
grifters.
comment.
Yeah, but like, I mean, the fact that he can just say that. But then the biggest one was just like a Bloomberg. Remember Bloomberg ran?
Mayor Bloomberg.
Yeah, he ran. Let's be real. He just ran like a Democrat because he thought it'd be easier to win that way. Like nothing about him
Oh,
screams
for
Trump.
sure. For
They,
sure.
but yeah, they know it's like, hey man, like all this shit happens. Most of the shit that's they're like, why don't you vote? It's because when you vote, these guys aren't hard aligned. They don't stick. They're like, let's work with the Republicans, and the Republicans know we can say fuck you, and just work by ourselves. But they both know that, and then at the end of the day, as long as they're both making profit, nobody really cares. But that's all I have to say about that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a certain member specifically who's
Yeah,
been profiting off of this.
I know who you're talking about.
Hmm.
All kneeling.
I'll throw this out there and then we'll move on to the next thing. And Miles, you can start us off if you want.
Okay.
So maybe no one is particularly being shadow banned, suppressed, or kicked off for unreasonable reasons. Would you say that both ideologies are equally represented?
On Twitter.
We'll start there. For example,
Uh,
so long story short, we're gonna use the recent shooting as an example. Which bias is easier for me to find? The left wing, the right wing, or is it easy for me to find a more centrist take? What would you say?
left wing for sure.
Okay. Miles,
Uh, equal.
Simi,
Equal.
Vince.
Well, I'm gonna be that guy for that second. I really think it depends on what you're looking for, what side of Twitter you're on when it comes to a lot of this stuff. I just think, on average, if we go by like race, obviously, I think like a lot of black people and young people, a lot of black people and young people tend to lean towards more liberal ideals in general. So that's why, in general, we tend to see most of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really say if or not that we don't see the stuff equally. We just don't look at the same stuff.
Okay. Lizard.
For the shooting, like for the shooting itself,
I'm using that as an example, but I mean if something like that happens, if I want to know, like I want to look it up, what happens? Which viewpoint do you think is the easiest for me to find? Left, right, center.
It depends. So I'm gonna be I like Vince because I feel like for that one it's kind of just because who what it was a white supremacist, so obviously it's different. But yeah, it depends. I think.
Okay, that's fair. The world gets stranger every day. Netflix in the mud. Hold on. I see more extreme controversial stuff than reasonable stuff, but I feel like because it gets more attention, I 100% agree with you. I think politics are all ridiculous. I think conspiracy people only time is when people question the COVID. They add like a link at the bottom. Also, shadow banning and light banning is getting to people of all political sides. Y'all hear what's happening on Netflix? Yeah, I do. Both sides think anyways. Trash versus garbage type beat. I'm agreeing with that. It's because white supremacists are known for violent demonstrations, it topping violence with held back violence, which is not really bad. The gun thing could have been solved if the left grew some nuts and handled business, but no, they want to be bipartisan. Y'all hear about the BS Ministry of Truth? Yeah, obviously that's not real. Is being blasted to hell. They should be, obviously. Why would I believe you? You don't. I need a completely impartial party that's transparent with me to say something like that. Ministry of Truth was obviously always Ministry of fucking lies. That one was not moving anybody. Because even people I know who are writing for Biden were like, we're like that's some like Germany shit. Because that's what they had. Even they knew. The left isn't one party. It's a lot of different. I think we all know that. It's more easy to find left. Even a lot of BS. I was left leaning until a few years ago, so was I probably. I am free from the daily grind. Glad to catch y'all live. What's up, Zodiac? How you doing, bro? Okay. From my 2 cents, I think it's generally easier just to find very progressive takes on anything anywhere on the internet. I have to search really hard for the opinion that is less warranted, and that could be something as simple as okay, I want to research domestic abuse to men. That's very hard to find. But if I just type that in, even if I type it in like for men, I'll just find domestic abuse kind of statistics for women. So I'm probably more in agreement with more topics. The easiest viewpoint to find are the left leaning ones. I think I have to seek out impartial ones, and the right ones I could find, but I gotta look a little harder. That's my experience. But okay.
Yeah, because leftist takes are more socially acceptable. That's why you'll find it.
You think so?
Easier. Yeah.
Liberal takes, yes.
Because they like I said, they take the high road, or they claim to.
Mm-hmm.
So the way they phrase their viewpoints, it's more in line with
it's more palatable to more people.
Regular, an educated person will look at it and be like, okay, yeah.
Interesting.
Because that's also.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, statistically, more people that are left leaning are college educated as well.
Well, I was just gonna say,
school system are a joke.
Do you think that? I feel like it begs to differ another question. Do you think there is like an impartial take on every issue that comes up?
Okay.
Okay, that's probably a little too broad.
No, but
do you think there's some things that just don't have an impartial take?
Here's what I'll say, right? I believe if you're a journalist reporting the news, it's not incumbent upon you to interject your personal opinion to what happened. So if at 6:00 in Toronto on this street at this time, male this age, this height did this thing, I just want the information, almost like cold, hard, calculated facts. Like I'm reading a box score. I don't have any bias in there. I just know what happened. And I don't think it's wrong to have an opinion piece, but I think all of these articles are obviously charged with a bias, left wing, right wing.
I agree. I think that's the reason I asked that, because I feel like it all comes back to more and more questions about the industry. Because even now, you and me talked about this, because I'm in journalism.
Mm-hmm.
They're still at least teaching me, like, they're still teaching us that, like, you're supposed to be impartial. You're supposed to do this.
Yeah. We both took journalism. That was what we were taught to do. You don't interject. You don't say I, me, we, you. You don't do that. You just report objectively.
It just seems to be happening more regularly, and it's just so much.
There's a lot of variables though. A lot of people like one quote that sticks in my head that I read this year for the first time that I think is really true is do not underestimate how far people will go for attention, clout, and notoriety. I think a lot of these people are absolutely just saying the most extreme, ridiculous, over the top things to incite fear, negativity, whatever the case is, for purely attention, good, bad, or impartial. or in the middle.
Right. Well, and the thing is too, you and me have talked about this before, is that anybody can be a quote unquote journalist. For
Exactly.
example, I'll use
Whoever
sports, for
runs libs of
example.
TikTok at this point is a journalist.
Right, exactly. People who run on TikTok, on YouTube, for example, like me and Pat are in sports Twitter, and like there are guys who literally have check marks that literally just decide to copy and paste other reporters' tweets and just relay that again, and somehow they got check marks. They're not reporters. They're just copy and paste what other dudes say, and then they get to a point where they get so much clout and so much wherewithal, they can just start tweeting. If they start tweeting whatever they want or anything like that, now a whole bunch of people are seeing that, and that's a problem. It's one of the downsides of social media is that they're just anybody can attain any type of thing, and then you see the thing with the guy that they don't like from what's that guy's name? Hold on, I can get it because we all sound kind of crazy when nobody knows exactly remember nobody's name.
I'm not good at public figures and remembering all these people.
I know his name is Rob something. He's a reporter on here. Y'all probably see him all the time. He's always the one coming out with the craziest.
Rob Parker?
No, not him. Oh no.
Rob Parker. I like him. He's funny. He made me laugh.
No way, no how.
He be hating though.
Robert Littal.
I don't know.
And I got it.
Oh, he blocked.
Gotta be careful how I phrase this type of stuff. But it's just like, he seems to write like a bunch of like headline capturing attention stuff. Okay. So like when you see his tweets, you read a lot of times people are reading it for the headlines because the headlines always seem so crazy. But the thing is, that's why he blocked me. Yeah, but you have to read the stuff inside of there. But he's doing it.
He makes these sensationalist headlines.
But he's taking advantage of the Twitter sphere of.
I called him out on it. Because what the fuck are you doing?
Well, because he knows that makes him the money that gets the people the look and stuff like that.
Shameless.
But there's just so many people out there like that. Like I said, I gotta be careful.
Yep, I definitely agree with people are virtue signaling with the "I'm better than you, I'm a better person than you" mindset. Be critical of everything, but someone pretending to care is better. So left the politicians, so most politicians suck anyways because politics are dirty. That's a fact. New job kicking your ass. I feel that, Zodiac, but you'll figure it out. I believe in you. I have actually also seen. I can't remember what I was watching, but I've seen some data that says that the left are actually more centered as well. But again, I think the problem I'm having is I don't trust any information I get now because they're too polar. They're too polar to each other. There's never any there's not enough overlapping commonalities in the reporting for me because again, like this thing on the Elon Musk thing, he's the greatest guy ever to free who's in the free speech, or he's the worst guy. Like there's no nuance, middling take, and it's ridiculous.
Now, and as far as journalism, a lot of journalists are allowed to be individuals now.
Yeah.
And when I say that, they're allowed to have their own brands, their own marketing, their own readership. Back in the old days, you kind of had that, but it wasn't the same. Like y'all were still under an umbrella. You might have had a favorite writer or something like that, but you weren't connecting with them on the same level, or you weren't following them on the same level on average.
Go ahead.
I guess a question I would have is, how much do we think that people are often misinterpreting certain journalistic acts?
They're not reading anything. They're just they're not even reading.
But like even the people, right, that are journalists that are posting things aren't necessarily presenting it in a professional manner, right? So like with the ability of Twitter, right? We know that majority of journalists have Twitters and present information, right? But I would assume there's some level of separation from what they would be presenting based on where they work versus what they're putting on Twitter. So how much is it also on people who are consuming what they're saying on Twitter, and now them also understanding that they're journalists, attributing to them thinking this is an absolute fact of like news piece? You see what I'm saying? Do you think there's a disconnect there?
No, rephrase that.
So like, I guess a simple way of saying it is, do we think people on Twitter are taking tweets made by journalists, but thinking that because of their profession, their tweets are now the exact same as if they were publishing a specific news piece?
I kind of hear.
Okay, so you say, I got you. They're taking what they're saying as fact all the time?
Yes, even though they're giving a more
I think very
opinionated
I think
Yeah, they're
thing
just
on an
saying what
issue.
they heard. What they
I
heard.
think
Yeah,
very unintelligent, weak-minded people who are easily indoctrinated are like that. Yes, who don't know what to think. And I will say it's okay to not know what to think sometimes, but then don't just latch on to whatever makes you feel good. Because just because it feels great doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you. Tacos feel great when I eat it. I love them. It's tasty. If I eat tacos every day, I will explode. So yeah, that's a good question.
It's a
Yeah.
very hard, hard line because
And I think it's hard for me because actually no, I'll hop into that later because it's part of the topic, a later topic. But do you think it's okay to not care about something? There's
Yeah.
so many issues in the world, and because of technology, your phones and things like that, and social media, we know what's happening in like in Russia, Ukraine. We know what's happening in Palestine. We know blah blah this and that other like right. We know everything around. Is it okay? Are you a bad person if you don't care about something, or if it's not
No,
something?
because
Okay, go ahead.
if it would be impossible for you to be emphatic about every single living thing, every issue, every problem that comes across this earth, you would explode.
Mm-hmm.
You can't possibly feel for you can't care about all the animals getting slaughtered. You can't care about every war going on in every country. You can't care about the environment. Well, you can care about the environment, but not like every single thing about the environment. Like I don't know what people expect
Mm-hmm.
from other human beings, but like
You, there's actually a
that
reason
kind
why
of range is
there's actually a
I think
insane.
reason
it
why I
depends on
asked
the
that
topic.
before you hold on, please hold on, let me just finish it because I had one more thing to say. The reason that I asked that was there's a bit of a phenomenon that I'm seeing sometimes, which I think is very interesting and strange at the same time. Where it's like, okay, so let's say I'm known as a really popular game designer or something, and as far as I've been like a public figure, I don't really particularly speak on any politics. I just do my work. You're like, hey, nice and whatever. This game cool. I'm like, good. Slash the monster, boy. Have fun. And then something like Raid versus Roll happens, and they come to me. What are your opinions on abortion? Are you pro life or pro choice, bro? What? What is that like? They're now like I feel people like are now going to people who do things that have nothing to do with politics and need to know their stances on everything. And it's like, what if he's been told he's a man, he's not allowed to voice his opinion on this, and he wants to keep shut. Like, is it okay for that person to not care? That's kind of how I wanted to frame it originally. But all right, sorry, Miles, go ahead.
It's so it oh go ahead.
It completely depends on the topic. Uh,
So you think
but
okay? So you think there are some topics if you don't care about it, you're a bad person.
yes,
Okay.
like I don't even want to say like from a moral perspective because that can be wishy washy because morals are depend per person. But I do think I think there are certain things. If we would just want to say just naturally as like society that to have a functioning society,
Mm-hmm.
there are certain things that you should care about. Just point blank period. Now, if we're talking about something like Ukraine and stuff, it's okay to not worry about that because there are multiple issues throughout countries, and I don't like when people virtue signal that you don't like this, but it's like for everything that you say, I could also pull up a topic that you don't know and aren't caring about. So I think that is different. But if we're talking about something like let's talk about child trafficking. I think everybody should care about child trafficking.
Yes,
Okay.
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Okay.
I think everybody should care about the environment because we're all living here
On
and we're all
Earth.
attributing to it. Yeah, so I think there are things that are hard lines you should care about, and there's some things where it's like you're not a bad person for not going to it because you do have your own personal things to worry about, and I think that's fine. So it depends.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think you're when you saying this stuff,
You
you
go
have
after Simi.
to.
All right. Now go ahead, finish.
Okay, when you say this stuff, like I agree with Miles' ultimate point. I just think that like you have to be smart enough as an individual when people are asking for this stuff to just be okay with to be honest. Like I know some people are just like you hear the people be like, oh, I got to do my research. You know damn well they're not finna do it. Don't get me wrong.
That's the best cop out ever. I'm not
Yeah,
educated on the
yeah.
topic. Gotta go do some research.
Sometimes
That's the
you
greatest
should
step
just
back ever.
yeah, it really is. But it just I think you should just at least like have a general opinion on something without necessarily having to go to an extreme version or be super passionate about it. Like
I
sometimes
can agree to that.
you could just be like I think this is bad in general, but I don't know the particular circumstance of what's going on. So I actually do need to know if y'all can send me stuff or this, that, and the other. Cool. But you can't just expect me to just be like, when I don't know anything about it or I need to do that because a lot of these things don't have details and sometimes even these people don't know. How you gonna ask me to answer something where you don't know the full thing either? Because the thing is, if I say it, it's stuck on there. You know, it's a public thing, and now y'all are gonna judge me this way or that way. You could go and you could change your mind, something like that, because nobody's gonna give a shit what you say. Like you're not, obviously y'all are putting me on a different level of importance. Y'all are not gonna care. So I just think that like as you when you are a certain level or something like thing, and I always say this too. Sometimes the best way to navigate certain things is just stop talking. Don't talk.
Yeah,
You don't need
absolutely.
to say you don't need to say anything.
Just
Some
shut
things
up.
just are just not important enough to speak on, or sometimes you just have to let them play out. And people don't do that enough. Like all this, this is a basic example, but like the whole Will Smith stuff with the slap. Why do I care? Like I'm not speaking on that. It does not matter to me. Like obviously that's a very general thing, but it's just like sometimes you don't gotta speak on that stuff.
Don't you won't care.
It does not do nothing. Doesn't help you. So I just think you have to pick and choose your battles correctly.
Okay. Send me.
Yeah, so this isn't a black and white question with a black and white answer. It's very, 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 very nuanced. So is it okay to not give your opinion and or not care about certain stuff? Yeah, absolutely. It's impossible to care about every single thing. Now, is it okay to be completely ignorant and or shut your eyes or ignore certain things? No, it's not okay. And that gets into dangerous territory. And my logic behind that is very simple. World news is important because you're not the only fucking person on the planet. We share the planet with billions of other people. Even if they don't directly come in contact with you, it's still important to know what's going on. A basic understanding. You don't have to know every single intricate and minute detail, but yes, it is important to know that there are two countries just across a body of water next to us that are at war. It is important to know that. You should not be walking around here as a fully grown adult and have absolutely no idea that just right across a fucking body of water that niggas are at war.
Okay.
Now, do you need to have some big strong opinion and
And the
on whose
solution and
side are
all
you on?
stuff.
And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, you don't. But it's important to know these things. So why world news is always important. Even and you could say it, yeah, I don't care that these two niggas are fighting, but
But
you
no, they're
should know
fighting.
that, yes,
Okay.
yeah. So it and then the whole reason why people nowadays are doing this whole coming to like entertainers and one, it just circles back to the whole virtue signaling and wanting the high ground and want to seem like a good person. That whole political correctness stuff. Everyone wants to seem like they're a good person, like they're not bad, right? They wanna, oh well, I don't follow people that have problematic views, which is in itself not a bad thing at all. I do the same thing. That's why this is again not a black and white answer because they have footing. It's just that they take it way too far. I told you this before, but I usually tend to stray away from retweeting English speaking artists. Why? Because a lot of the times they be fucking problematic. I'm not going to help put money into somebody's pocket who wants people who look like me dead or who don't give a fuck about people who look like me getting fucking killed in the streets. Point blank period. I don't care how good you draw. Right? But they take it to an extreme where if there's someone who's literally just here to give you entertainment purposes and they're doing everything in their power to stay away from that shit. They literally just here to like I don't draw do concept art or whatever or make fucking funny videos and they forcing them to put out opinion that they're clearly not trying to, then yeah. So that's the annoying thing. They have a footing, but they're taking it to such an extreme where Now you see entertainers and people who are clearly very ill informed or just downright ignorant giving opinions on stuff and shit like that because everyone wants to seem politically correct and morally right and all type of other bullshit. But yeah, it's very nuanced, man. But it is absolutely okay to not care about something, not go gung ho about something, not be as informed as everybody else, and not have a super duper strong stance on every single thing. That's literally fucking impossible.
Yeah.
And you will just be miserable if you try to do all that.
Okay.
Damn.
Let me actually run you through a bit of a conversation I had today. Right. I just want your opinion on this because I think it's apt. It's apt. So someone was kind of asking me like, I think I retweeted something. I think I retweeted Tim Pool. I think he said men and women are different. I'm like, yes, we are, right? And then someone just asked me like, like why you're always kind of into that stuff, blah blah yada 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 yada. And I was just like, I care about real stuff now. Like I just kind of there came a point in my life where I started to care more about these type of things and world events and whatnot. Not celebrity gossip, but just world views. And I legitimately find it interesting, right? For me, I spend a lot of my time talking about One Piece, Tower God, Kubera, and just like nerd shit in general. I love it. They're my hobbies. They're great. But even I'm at the point where sometimes I'm a little tired of it. In a weird way, I know I'm wired backwards like this, but when I get to talk about this type of stuff, this is my reprieve. This is me relaxing. Me talking about regular world views. I know that stuff can get testy and people can get really, really into it, but this is actually how I reset. Like it's refreshing for me to talk about politics, to talk about men and women intersex dynamics and things of that nature. That's actually me taking a load off. But for this individual, right? She works as a paralegal and deals with a lot of divorces. So all day for 5 days a week, pretty much all the stories and news and testimony that this person is getting is negative. So when they have free time, the last thing they care about are like politics, world views, blah blah blah. So they do the thing where they kind of avoid any opinions and stances on like major topics. What would you say about someone like that? Coward, not a coward? Makes sense to you? What do you think?
It
Makes
it makes
sense.
it
Makes
makes
sense.
perfect sense. I mean, like honestly, like I'm in the same boat as them. None of this shit brings me any type of enjoyment. I'm not having fun right now. I don't like talking about this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I only do it because fucking A, it makes you happy. B, I'm supporting you, and C, it's important. But this shit, I don't. This, doing this is does not bring me no type of fun at all whatsoever. Like,
I
I
do
gather you
I personally knew that already. That's not news to me. I know that.
like
Ye-
it makes perfect sense. Like if that's what they're doing all fucking day, and as a job on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to do that on their downtime too. So they're already doing their due diligence. They're informed. They know this shit. They're in it,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't want to do it 24 fucking 7. So that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
yeah, I agree with Sammy.
Okay.
By the way, to answer the original question, I think yeah. I don't think it's. Yeah, I think it's impossible because there's no way you can be informed on every single topic like just around the world. Like you know, it wouldn't be nuanced enough. I just don't think it'd be pointless because your opinion would just not be nuanced. But I think being informed on important topics is like important global topic is important. But I don't expect somebody from Ireland to know what's the like the some state issue in Germany. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what to say.
Okay. Who didn't answer yet?
I have an answer. So, I mean, I think there are you. I'm kind of someone to be like, you need to be like aware. I think you should pay attention to things as they happen, and you have to have awareness. And to me, that's the biggest thing. You can't completely ignore something, but I also don't think you should just completely consume this type of stuff all day.
You can doom scroll. I've done it. I did do the George Floyd stuff.
Yeah,
I think I went too
because I
far.
think people do that too much. They
Yeah.
don't just ignore it enough. They always gotta have to say something. Like I said kind of earlier today, I don't trust people who always get into confrontations and argue about stuff all the time. Like that's not cool either. You shouldn't be like going throughout your TL and looking for things to get upset about in life because you'll never be happy that way. This shit ain't never gonna be perfect, and most people aren't even really doing anything to actively make a change and do anything about it. So like, I think it's good to talk about these things so you learn more about yourself. Honestly, more sometimes than the world, you kind of learn about yourself, what you value, what you could maybe like change, or maybe like things that you didn't realize and now that's important to you for yourself or in a partner or something like that. So I think it's really important for all those type of areas.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a balance. I don't think you can just shun yourself from the world and just ignore all this stuff happening around you. I don't think you should just
I think you can, but
completely.
I'll call you a coward, honestly, personally speaking, if you did that.
I mean, you can try to do that,
Yeah.
but that's dumb to me.
Yeah.
Cause then like I'll say it like this: you're not paying attention to stuff that's going on, stuff like that, and then you walk into, oh, I don't know. Let's just say like they changed the rules for voting for some reason, and then let's just say all of a sudden decide one day you just like, I'm gonna go vote. I feel like it's really important, but then you realize you can't vote because you didn't do this or do that, or your state applied new rules, stuff like that. Now you're looking silly, or just anything like that because you didn't pay attention to what was going on, or just like the stuff with what's going on with certain let's say with like abortion or something like that. Where if you get caught in a situation where you're trying to get one, but then you realize you can't get one. So like, or something like that. I mean, obviously that's a very particular situation, but stuff like that happens. If you don't pay attention, you won't know. How are you gonna do it? So like, you need to know what's going on around you.
Okay.
Bit of a little bit of a tangent, but I'm also under the impression that being overly and heavily involved in a foreign country's politics is can well I should say can be dangerous.
You mean like
Yes.
people caring about Russia and stuff?
Just in general,
Okay.
overly caring about a foreign country's politics can be dangerous.
What if your country is directly connected to them and you do a lot of like commerce and trading and stuff? So what happens to them actually really pretty much affects you immediately. So for example, I'll say Canada and the U.S. You guys are right there.
Nah, it still applies because that's exactly what I was getting at. Proud Boys originated from Canada. Why is a white supremacist group that operates in operates in the U.S. originate in Canada?
There's Trump fans in Canada. That
Yeah.
shit's just funny to
There's
me.
Trump fans in I saw something like in the east too.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they was. I seen a freaking Trump rally in Japan. I believe that was during the freaking George Floyd stuff too.
Mm.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, I'm just saying it can be. I'm not saying that it is or 100% will, but it can be.
Any and everything in excess, I would argue was not good for you. Everything in moderation.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like being heavily, like super duper heavily, because I, I mean, unfortunately, I can't give a. This is honestly just my feelings, but I really feel like because it's you have you wow English. You're garnering a warped sense of, I would say a warped sense of mentality that's being fucking redundant, but it's a warped ideology because at the end of the day, you're still looking from the outside in, right? You're not in that land. You're not 101% directly affected by all of its laws and rules and the people that live there, so on and so forth. And
Uh,
I would say it's easier to
si-
go ahead, Siamese. You seem like you're struggling. Go ahead, get it
no,
out.
no, no, no. I was just gonna ask you because does this? Do you think this applies to, let's say, like an immigrant talking about their home country, like somebody immigrates to Canada, America, something's
No,
happening in.
because you're
Okay,
directly connected by your family.
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah,
okay,
that's different. I'm
okay.
talking about
But what if you have family in
yeah.
a foreign country?
So what?
What if you have family in a foreign country and that's why you care? Like what if somebody from Ukraine are like, you know,
Yeah, it's the same principle.
okay.
You are directly connected by your family. It's something that affects you 100%.
Yeah, but if you're complete, I'm talking about complete isolation. You're not from there. Your family wasn't born there.
No, I
Um,
got you. Are we
yeah.
speaking from a
So
political or personal standpoint? You can come from a perspective that you want to come from. You just
scientific standpoint, you know.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
just like how I feel
Scientology.
about the French people. You know why I feel the way I do?
Yeah.
Because it directly affects my family.
Yeah.
yeah. So I just feel like it can be.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You could be as way easier warped in the type of mentality that you have looking at something that actually doesn't affect you, just looking from the outside in, and especially looking at all types of um the all types of well, I'm sorry, my fucking brain is all over the fucking place.
It's all good.
Yeah, all types of just different ideas and mentalities, both from people who are there and people who are not there.
Oh, he just cooked that nigga. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I got the game on too.
And
Oh,
whatnot. But
sorry.
that's just a personal freaking opinion of mine that I always hold. I don't think that it's
That
a
makes perfect sense because I mean,
yeah.
but I hold that opinion about most things in life, anyways. But all right, let's move on to the next topic. So I don't know if you guys saw it all on Twitter. So Jordan Peterson has temporarily left Twitter, I think. So there's a plus size model named Yumi New who was on the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated.
Sports Illustrated. Yeah.
And I think his comment is kind of like it's like out of nowhere. I don't think that I think it was a little unnecessary. I guess he had a larger point that's which I'll highlight immediately. But I guess like I have it on screen here, so I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't know if you've seen her at all.
I've seen him.
I posted it in the forum.
Yeah, but okay, yeah, I got you. I'll just say wait, this is.
Oh, you talking about the chat? Or just,
Yeah, like so. This is the person, right? That's her. I think she was on it last year too. Did you have any like scathing opinions? Like I feel like this is like not one of the battles to like fight. Like this is like something you kind of
no,
let
honestly,
slide.
when I look, oh, okay. Well, you go first. Back.
What did Jordan Peterson say exactly? I need to know this first.
He said, "Sorry, not beautiful, and no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change that because so people who kind of are engaged in the culture battle of like North America, the Western world, America, what have you, believe that there's a certain group of people who are trying to push like being obese and fat as a beauty standard. Like it's great to be that. It's fine instead of just being accepted of it. So yeah, he has some articles here that I'll look in a second, but he said his follow up. I think Kavash is I think a left leaning like content creator who talks about politics and stuff like that. I've seen a couple of his videos a couple of years ago. I don't know that for a fact. Someone might know better than me. Vaush, whatever. Vaush.
Yeah, he's a super big left, but he's just like most political YouTubers. He's pretty problematic.
Okay. So
Fuck
So I wouldn't. He's definitely not a.
okay, so he said also authoritarian, chunky women on the magazine covers. You sound like a parody of you. And then Jordan B. Peterson said it's a conscious, progressive attempt to manipulate and retool the notion of beauty, reliant on the idiot philosophy that such preferences are learned and properly changed by those who know better. So then he gets his article here. I'll check it. He said I'll read the article while we're talking about it. But I guess I'll start right. Because I'm the fat fool, right? So I'll start. This didn't bother me in any sense when I saw it. I think I was confused because it was Sports Illustrated. So I'm like, is she like a shot putter or something? Is she an athlete? I didn't know who she was, right? So I looked her up, and some guy named Steve Aoki, I think he's like pretty well known or something like that. I don't know what he does. I can't.
DJ.
Yeah, there we go. I think this is his daughter. Am I right on this? I don't know if I'm completely right on that. I could be off. Right, this is his daughter, right? And I guess every year they have a swimsuit edition. But I guess I had three initial questions, right? First of all, I was like, what? I guess like I don't think it was necessary to just go at her. I actually don't think she's ugly. I think she has a nice face. From this picture, she doesn't look crazy overweight. I think she could lose 20 pounds, but this is a sports magazine. So I guess I don't know anything about modeling in the beauty industry, and I don't read magazines. Like, what the fucking year is this, right? So I don't know nothing about this kind of stuff, but my question was, I guess, why don't we have athletes on here? I thought only athletes were ever illustrated or shown in these things. So I don't really have a connection to the beauty world and stuff like that. So I have no idea. But did you guys I feel like this is something that you can just I don't think there's any reason to have any strong opinions on this. But do you guys believe? Okay, I guess I'll ask this after. But Preliminarily, what are your thoughts on this? Do you have any strong opinions on this, or like whatever, bro? Like, who cares?
I,
I
I'll
thought it
say
was
this.
pretty. Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead, Miles.
No, well, I was gonna say I think it's kind of just like I thought it was funny, but I think it's just also kind of crazy. Like, I think it was pretty much completely unnecessary, and like, I understand, like, of course the current day means in which we deal with health and people that are overweight and stuff is a very complicated issue. Yada 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 yada.
I don't think. I think. I don't think that shit's complicated.
It's the solutions and what we can do are simple, but the means in which all parties are interacting with each other makes everything complicated.
I agree.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So with her, yeah, I think this is a really bad person to go after because like I don't think she doesn't look like anything crazy to me. Like it is what it is. Like I think the rhetoric he said of no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change. It is a really weird just usage of words to like help prop up his own statement in this to kind of make it seem he's more right because yeah, you can say in certain instances it maybe, but like I don't think that's really applying to this right here because some people probably definitely find this woman attractive 100% just normally. And again, it's a weird thing where like I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure in certain cultures and especially throughout time there have been plenty of times where bigger people have been the beauty standard. So
Okay,
it's not
there's
not this weird.
So you're going somewhere where I want to go,
weird.
which makes sense. Okay, well I'll save that though. But that is a good point. But just remember that back in the day, it was because they would associate you with money because you had enough money to be 100%. Plump. Never forget that. I think that's lost on a lot of people who were making that argument.
Yeah, that's why like true. You'll see like the mascot for Monopoly, he kind of like chubby a little bit because he rich. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like people like that were made in that image back then.
Yeah. But okay, yeah. Simi, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I actually have absolutely no problems with this whatsoever. She is not obese. Mm-hmm. That's fucking not only a stretch, but you just dragging it. That's just a flat out lie. She's not obese. I mean, if you find it attractive or whatnot, that's completely fucking subjective. So I don't know where that fucking authoritarian business is coming from.
Do you want me to tell you?
I mean, you can in a minute, but I'll just finish my quick statement. And finally, she may not be a athlete herself, but there are athletes built like her. So I really don't see the issue.
There's some like baseball players who don't look like, they're like world class athletes. So I definitely agree with you there.
I mean, but that's the thing. This whole notion that to be a world class athlete you have to be shaped like a fucking like a Greek god or whatever is nonsensical to begin with.
So,
but anyways,
so there is a lot of people who believe that there's being this like attack on the culture, American values, and all kind of nonsense or whatever, right? And what the prevailing belief is, and I think this is where Jordan Peterson is coming from. I don't know that for a fact, and he's Canadian. He's not even American. I think a lot of people don't know that. I've literally seen him at universities. Before he like popped off, people believe that there's a I guess a loud minority, vocal minority that's trying to just change the definition of beauty standards altogether to just make people be like, being obese is beautiful, so to speak.
How is that even possible if it's not an objective thing to begin with?
What do you mean?
To change the beauty standard would implicate that there is an objective beauty standard to begin with. There isn't one. Okay. Nigga, everybody finds.
Hold on. That's your viewpoint.
My fault.
It's your viewpoint. Right? No. I'm literally trying to explain this because I think sometimes what happens is people don't really ever see the other side. Because I didn't even know this until maybe like a month ago. There are people who legitimately study beauty. So there's people who believe that there are intrinsic and certain things that are like make you actually beautiful from a statistical standpoint. So there's some people who look at beauty completely logically. They're not like us. Like Dick React, Blood Rush here. I guess I like it. You know, they're not thinking that way. And one of the major things is facial symmetry. That's the major one.
Mm-hmm.
The more symmetrical your face is, you're generally going to be seen as more beautiful. And then they'll use arguments like, why do you think Hollywood tends to cast these really good-looking types of dudes? If you ask, and most surveys, when you ask, yes, everyone's different. People have their personalized tastes and opinions. But when you ask most people, there is a general archetype of man that most women or people attracted to males find as a like the contemporary beauty standard, and vice versa with women. There's a certain type of woman with a certain type of look, body type, or whatever that is seen to be beautiful. So some people operate off of that type of thinking. Whether or not you think it's right is not what I'm here to debate, because I don't think like that either. But I'm trying to explain to you what viewpoint they're coming from. They're actually coming at it more like from a psychological, scientific standpoint. So yeah,
All right.
you, did that change anything you thought previously or no?
This I already knew. So this how I feel about you me knew or whatever, and what Jordan Peterson said.
Hmm.
Like I think we've already covered beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? So
I believe that, yes.
if he doesn't think she's attractive, he is 100% in his right to believe that. Now, did he have to say everything that he said? Absolutely not. That was completely unprovoked. He don't know her. I don't know why he even fixed his mouth to open his mouth to say something like that.
Hmm.
Like, it's just, it's so uncalled for. It's very rude.
Okay, so I just have one, not a pushback, but just a little extra tidbit. Some people like him tend to talk through people. Does that make sense? You know, do you get when I say that?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay.
He's speaking for the unheard or
Yeah. So
people who would
so
share his
if you
opinion.
if you take that into consideration, does it change your opinion on how he handled it?
No, because nobody asked him. Like, bro, nobody asked him, like, hey, what do you think about her? If that was the case, then I would have been like, I mean, that's kind of rude, but he was just being honest.
Yeah.
This is just like he just woke up, saw the picture, was like, ah.
That's actually exactly how I looked at it. That's exactly how I thought about it. That's pretty funny. But I guess with me, one thing I do is like when that stuff happens, I probably think about it too hard. So I consider so many different variables. Let me give you an example. Rest in peace to KS, but Kevin Samuels, right? You know, people will say things like, why does he go back to talking to men? And I'm like, he comes from corporate America. He worked in sales. He is a business-minded individual. It makes sense to me logically that he's going to do what he's doing with the women because that's what's garnering him more views, more clout, and more money. And I'm not mad at that. Maybe someone is mad at that, but like when I'm analyzing something before I outrage Uncle Bunga, I try to consider all of those different vantage points before I make an opinion. I hate people who make uninformed like just blanket statements, shit like that. But I definitely felt like he woke up today and just chose violence.
Now on the second part with the what he was trying to say in regards to beauty standard and stuff like that, there are actually people, mostly women. I'm not trying to single them out, but it's mostly women that go out of their way to make it seem like being obese is okay. And they have been trying to change the perception of obesity. And like Miles said, the conversation about it is very complicated because you go into the minutia of why people are obese, and it comes from a lot of things. It stems from racism. It comes from a lack of resources,
can you
funding.
please explain that one to me? I've never understood that one.
Which
Oh,
one?
the racism part?
That fat phobia or whatever, someone is rooted in racism. I don't get that.
I mean, it comes from
I think I can make it.
one the beauty standard of like how back in the day where if your ass was fat, it was seem unattractive, and then all of a sudden now you have a fat ass. That's what everybody wants. Then you're like,
there's a post I saw today on Twitter. I think that they're talking about the rise of the BBL.
yeah, that's part of it. Another part of it is like, if you go into impoverished neighborhoods, you're gonna mostly see minorities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you
Yeah.
go into those communities, they're gonna have places where there's a lot of access to unhealthy eating, and it's more affordable. That's why people become obese.
Okay.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I just think it's an overreaction. I just don't like the whole swimsuit on the cover thing. I just think I really don't care. I mean, she's just what, like, it's not like she's fucking thing. It's just, I mean, in general, I just really don't care about that thing. But yeah, I just think it's an overreaction. Like the authoritarian. I don't think there's anything authoritative.
Authoritarian this article.
Authoritarian. Yeah, my bad. I be stuttering.
Okay.
Authoritarian about just things. And like, I think, what was the second tweet you said, like, about how they're trying to program from what the actual natural thing is, and you talked about people think objectively and things like that.
Yeah, there's like, I didn't know this, but there are people like who I didn't know people even studied beauty from like a objective scientific standpoint. But there's people who think that like they're trying to force us to like think fat people are good looking. Long story short, I guess. But let me find.
I'm not gonna lie, it kind of sound like a lot of this. I mean, like the whole studying about beauty standards is, first of all, I really just don't think that possible. Like how are they setting it? Like, are they setting from a Western point of view? Because
I don't have all that information, so I couldn't tell you.
yeah. I'm just saying in general. Like, I'm just asking. Like, I'm not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
But, like,
Go ahead.
yeah.
I was gonna. This is well, one. I think it's important to recognize any group ever is going to have individuals of said group that is going to try to find ways to prop themselves up in some manner,
on my door?
especially if the thing they're propping up has been shown to be put in a negative light, right? That's anybody. And I think when we're looking at this group, we have to realize there's off the top of my head, I want to say there's probably two groups or two camps within the people that want to change the beauty. I think it's one, the ones that more so want to just destigmatize what being fat is. So like they're not going around and just being harassed daily for being what they are. And then there's the ones that want to probably push it a step, and like for the destigmatizing people, they're also probably willing to actually put in the work and lose weight, but they don't want to be relatively shitted on while they're doing it. And then you have the other camp, which don't want to do a said thing, and they just want to make being fat. I don't want to say the norm, but maybe that's the best way to put it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
So I think,
exactly how it is.
yeah. So I think we also have to make the distinction between the separate groups within, even the ones that want to change it. And I think, and I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with the destigmatizing part, because I've seen it plenty of times from even a gym perspective, and even now you may have seen it, of people that go out that put in the work in the gym, that lose weight, that are still made fun of, treated poorly, and things of that nature.
But I always roast people who do that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of
But so I think the destigmatizing is a good step forward. And I think if the overall conversation can be, I don't want to say positive because that might be impossible, but at least relatively more neutral, then we could probably make actual real change that can push people forward to being more healthy.
What do you think the?
Oh
yes. Oh, Vincent, go. My bad. Go ahead, brother.
No, I was gonna say I have a question because I mean, honestly, with these, I don't think I could have added anything more than anybody already said. But I have a question, just in general about some of these. When it comes to some of these topics, I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but so does do y'all feel like sometimes with some of these things that just like kind of like in vain these talking points?
Like we could never really come to a proper consensus. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I would argue
like
the abortion thing is one of them.
Particular thing, yeah, that and this, I feel like for this topic and that topic, I kind of feel like it's in vain.
Here's
To
my,
be
my
honest,
my issue is I think that a lot of people are throwing logic out the window with weight loss and being in good shape
that's why I think
specifically
it's that's why I think it's
solely
in vain.
for feels, and that's the thing. Like, I'm just obviously this is just one subset of small examples, so don't take this seriously. But I was watching a video on Dr. Phil where this like girl and her sister was talking about how her sister is actually really healthy. She eats way better than she does, even though her sister was like 300 pounds plus, and the other girl was like normal BMI, at least from the looks. Like, listen, we can go through all the things and I'll cover my bases. I know just because someone is muscular doesn't mean they're in good shape. Just because someone is thin or is not presenting fat or like has love handles doesn't mean they're healthy. I understand. I think most of us understand those things and get that. My problem is when people throw those arguments out there, it just seems disingenuous. Like you're just trying to say that just so you don't have to actually like address the issue properly. But anyways, right? When I'm talking about this stuff, because like I feel strongly about this obviously because I've been an athlete my whole life, so this is just a realm that I come from, which is why I feel strongly about it, and I see what it does to people who may have not grown up, particularly thin, but they start working out, gain some confidence, their mental health is better when I see how they move. I know people who have been, I like one of my close friends was literally when I met him in college in 2012 was literally the stereotypical I live in my mom's basement gamer, fucking 8 chins. Think the South Park episode. And he grinded. He worked. And then when he saw that first tangible difference and felt it, he got addicted to it. This nigga built a gym called The Forge. He created, he literally, this is what he does. This is his life now is fitness. Like, and I see with most people, they take the time to actually dedicate themselves to it, and they see the change. They turn around. Some of them even get addicted to the process. Where some people I know even became personal trainers. Not as great as opening a gym, but impressive in its own right. I hate this conversation only because I just think that a lot of people just throw out a bunch of stuff like autoimmune disease or something just to just like throw the exception as the rule. Where it's like most people are perfectly capable of not putting all that fucking shit in their body and could move a bit more. I'm just tired of the excuses. I go to the gym and see people with no legs. Why are you looking at me like, the work, so what? This nigga has no feet. I just don't want to hear it. And no one is saying become a gym warrior. Go for a walk, stretch, put out 20 minutes of your day, bang out some push-ups, do something. No one is saying get protein, start counting your macros, and become a gym warrior. That's so unnecessary. And that's what bothers me. The conversation around this to me is just not real. They don't frame it properly. So, and it doesn't matter how nice you are about it, it doesn't help. But I'm with you, Vince. I think there's some of these topics there really is never going to be a proper conclusion. Yeah.
With a lot of this stuff, it's not to say that I don't care, and I guess that's part of my thing. Sometimes when we talk about some of this stuff, it's not that I don't care. I care about a lot of things. I care about people in general, as as us as a society, as a civilization, yada yada. But sometimes I just can't be bothered. Everything is so extreme, or everything gets so far from the topic sometimes from where we started that I can't care enough.
It's tiring, bro.
Yeah, I just can't.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, unless you ask me specifically, I just don't
No,
care. When I read some of these
that
things,
makes sense to
whatever
me.
to me.
I like what you said, Mike. That makes sense to me. So the part that's not discussed enough is that being at a high body fat is strongly correlated with lifestyles and diseases. The convo needs to be more about medical science instead of beauty standards. I'm not mad at that. That makes sense to me.
I agree.
But we're at the point where we don't really trust science. Everyone trusts our feelings more. And listen, do I think that the medical community has completely besmirched their name and now are completely creditless because of how they handled the pandemic? Absolutely. And I was always one of those people who said, hey, there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion. but we've come into this weird anti-science era and stuff. But I do think a lot of these professions that I used to look up to when sitting, if a psychologist said something, I'd usually take it in stride. But we've seen that one psychologist on TikTok telling me that if you want to lose 20 pounds, you're fat phobic, you're unserious. And now I can't. Now I'm starting to lose respect for the profession because you let bozos like this talk. I don't want to hear that. So
Yeah, but again, that's such a weird thing. I don't know why she would say that because I don't even think they're. I could be wrong. I don't even
I
think
think they're
psychologists
taught
really
this,
take
bro. I think this is how they're
nutrition.
taught nowadays. Like, cause she looks young to me, like 24ish, 23, 20 to 24ish. I think the way that they're taught in schools now, they kind of implement the kind of progressive talking points into the way that they're learning. The
Oh, that's
one
what
that
you
I
meant.
don't
Oh,
mind that I think is actually important, that I one of my doctor friends told me this, is she's like, when she went, which this one is older, right? She said when she went to school, when you were performing certain surgeries and looking at stuff, it was always white people, and it's actually hard to identify certain types of things on different skin colors.
yes,
That's changed now.
yes.
That's one of those things that makes sense to me. But I don't know if you so like from my understanding, adding the like race part to like math is like what they'll do is they try to like tackle systemic racism with a math question. So it's like if Nye and Simi come from a low income neighborhood and Nye has $40 for rent, and like that's how the questions are asked now. Does that make sense? I think that's very, very
Yeah.
fucking strange.
Well,
Just say
two
I
things
have
I was
40
gonna say.
apples, you have whatever, and like I don't, that's not important to me, but go ahead.
I was gonna say two things. One, yes, the a huge step, which still needs to be more, is specifically when you look at medical textbooks, is illustrations, right? So certain maybe skin diseases that can maybe change based off the pigment of your skin. It would be important to have probably every race and how each disease would apply and change based off said thing, right?
Yeah,
So
that
you
makes
can
perfect
identify it.
sense.
If most were white, most doctors then get patients of a certain ethnic background and they can't do anything because they don't know what to do. So yeah, that's really important. And then I was gonna say I could be wrong because I'm pretty sure even from what my med student friends are telling me, even their nutritional part's pretty small. I don't think psychologists even deal with really nutrition like that. So even though a psychologist, which is I guess we could say a revered position, if that,
Mm-hmm.
her topic on fat phobia doesn't really matter because she doesn't know what she's doing. And I've heard this point, and I think this is a really good point, is intelligence kind of comes down to two camps, I feel like now, where it's usually when you see someone that has excelled in one area field,
A
a
subject matter expert.
doctor, yes, they can either go into two trains of thoughts. One, they can recognize other people that have done what they've done in a different field. So if I'm a doctor and I meet like an engineer, it's like, hey, I did my so and so years of education. You did your so and so years. I can recognize this shit's hard, and with the time and effort you put in, I can't replicate that because I haven't put in the time that you have.
Okay.
The second train of thought is people that have reached that state and they think, I did this, I must be able to do everything.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense to me.
So I think when we're applying that to even the psychologist, it's like she thinks now because of this, being a psychologist, she can now speak on almost any topic ever, and just because it has the word phobia in it, she's automatically right, which isn't the case. So I think that's important.
That
to
actually
recognize.
makes sense to me. I like that. That's a good comment. That makes sense to me. To be honest, you have to evaluate people on a case by case basis. I try not to trust or distrust anyone just based on their title alone. I'm with you on that. Okay. I'm just curious about those kind of things, but like this is kind of one of the things I want to talk about the most. So, in this day and age, do you guys think that it makes sense to have a political affiliation in these times? Why are people so loyal to certain parties and ideologies? And I want to talk about the issues with like basically the political spectrum, the right, left, I guess center too. And by that I don't necessarily mean I'm Republican or I'm Democrat. I mean just like I like, sometimes you ask somebody and they'll tell you this: I'm a libertarian, I'm this, I'm conservative, I'm a socialist, I'm this and that, I'm blah blah yada yada. And bear with me for a minute because this is gonna sound stupidly idealistic. I know it's not real, but just bear with me for a second, right? The kind of idea of right and left to me, that makes sense to me. It's almost akin to like the most idealistic way I can look at the law, and I got this from Ace Attorney. Take Miles in Phoenix, right? The idea is that the most important thing in trial is the truth, right? So Phoenix defends his clients wholeheartedly, believing they're innocent. Miles will attack them, thinking that they're guilty. And as long as they're not bending the law, this is obviously, remember, this is idealistic. This isn't a perfect world. The truth that they'll come to the truth by working from both and from different ends of the spectrum. And ideologically, that's how I look at the political spectrum. I would say the people who are more right leaning are more like they don't want to change too much. They like tradition. They want to keep things the way they are, and they like grab onto facts, statistics, and historical precedent and cling to them and don't let go. The left is more about trying to institute change, adding the emotional intelligence part to that equation, and you're supposed to take both and come to a conclusion. Are you all following me so far?
Yeah.
So it's like the analytical side of basketball, the points per game, the third tier stats, blah blah yada yada, but also understanding the context, watching the games itself, knowing the personality of the players. You take both, and that's how you come to the proper conclusions. That's how I actually see how it should work in an ideal world. Does that sound crazy to anybody?
No.
No.
So why
I
do
mean,
some people cling to one idea of how to fix the entire country? Does that not sound ridiculous? Is that just me?
Because that's how this was built. This, cause your whole perception of the spectrum is not what it is. The spectrum was not made to find the truth, to find how to ideally run the country that benefits all. That was never ever the the point or end goal at all, and it never will be.
Okay.
The whole point of the spectrum is benefits.
yeah.
It's
I
just
was
benefits. It's not the truth. It's not what what would be the best that will help
The most amount of people or something.
to help reach prosperity and the most of it for this land and its people. It was never ever that.
Okay.
That was not why this was built. It's just benefits. Always just benefits.
I'm gonna take it a step further. So you have to think about
how they built this country in the first place.
You would know better than
Everything,
I do. I know more about Canada.
everything that America is built on is built on a system of checks and balances. It's not anything about truth or justice or any like that. This is built. They built it basically inherently so one party should not be able to completely do things without the other party, checking them, without them be able to do like anything. And also, you have to think about a lot of the things that how these parties have. Let's just call it evolution. Evolve. I feel like it's not a proper word for this. Even it's a real word, but it's not a proper word for this because think about this: Democrats and Republicans. One, they switched. They used to be the opposite. The people that are currently Democrats 100 years ago, they were Republicans, and vice versa. So that's number one. They switched stances because of different things. Things switched because one, slavery, slaves' rights, all that, three-fifths, all that shit, and people, and money. That's always what it is. Economics. One reason everybody knows that slavery lasted so long, there's money in it.
Okay.
Some of those people didn't care necessarily about having slaves. Some of them obviously were sick and all that. But the reason slavery people want to keep slavery around because it was just money. There's so much money invested and involved in it. It's always about the money. And it's just like they don't even when we were talking earlier about Democrats, the reason why Democrats don't push so much to get stuff done for liberal, like I always say, I don't believe Democrats are liberal. They're not the same people. Democrats just took that because that's the people they want to. That's the easier people to get the votes from at this point. But that's not what Democrats are. At the end of the day, the Democrats, all this stuff, they have all these political parties and all these people politicians have backers. The most important people for them to earn their money, their keep, their salary is those backers, the
The
people
people
with
who
the
have backed them and
political
put
donation
them
and
in
stuff like
their
that.
positions of power. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, that at the end of the day, like we've set up in theory. Well, we've always been not even theory. We've always been told that the people hold all the power as far as the voting rights. I mean, that's kind of a mirage. It's kind of not real. Like they just tell you that, but at the end of the day, that don't really matter. So just there's just a lot going on. It would take a lot more, and I would have to like probably like write it down and like before I get a full explanation, explain it. But it just it's not really built like that. Like Simi said, it's not really built for that. It's not what this. It's not what this is about.
Also, this is
Vincent,
entirely a Western thing, by the way.
I know. I know.
very, very, very true.
I've seen
Vincent,
I've seen
my
politics.
nigga,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad you said this because when you look at the political sphere when it comes to liberals, conservatives, moderates, da da da, when you look at the groups that occupy these democratic parties, let's start with black people because I'm black, so it's the easiest example to use. If you ever spoke to the average black person and asked them their views on certain things, you'll find that black people are actually pretty damn conservative.
Facts.
They
Most
go to
definitely agree with
church.
that.
Especially the older
Yeah,
they get.
they go to church a lot. A lot of them don't really believe in abortion like that. They believe in conserving money. They're not really on board with LGBT
Yep.
movements as a whole. Like they're really traditional in mindset, but they mostly end up voting Democratic. Why? Because the principles that the Republican Party believe in does not help them in the slightest at all. So they're forced to do this.
Unless
And
you're a
if they
business owner.
yeah, and if they don't vote Democratic, they're outcasted, shunned, and labeled as coons, this, that, and the third, or seen as people that are against their own people. So you have to keep in mind, like, a lot of these things that these parties stand for, they don't really employ them on a daily basis.
Okay.
A lot of people's political parties to kind of get back. Like we didn't really tangent because it's all important, doesn't matter. But a lot of reason people are a certain political party because it's generational. Black people growing, especially you growing up, one reason you're told to be a Democrat when you're a young black kid is because, like I said, the party switched. So the people that are the Republicans used to be Democrat and they voted for slavery, and you don't want to be on that side because they voted for slavery. I remember that being like a big point of why black people are normally Democrats in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was just number one. The thing is, it's just that we're kind of in an era now that people are just kind of like our what we care about is on average is different. Because also you got to think about how much the world has changed as far as like the working class. Like we still have a working class and we still have like our middle class because that is the working class.
The middle class is disappearing apparently though.
What the fuck am I?
That is to be argued, but I'm gonna wait on that.
Yeah, I didn't say. I said apparently. I didn't say.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
what I'm
I feel you, I feel
saying. Then what am I supposed to be?
And I understand that, but it's like but the thing is, we gotta think about it when they had these people who worked at mills and factories and stuff of that nature. So it's just like one reason like you voted for Democrats or whatever. I talk about like FDR because like we had this whole conversation, when everybody was here, we're talking about like presidents. We were saying like, oh, there's no such thing as a good president, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all depending on your morals and stuff like that. But there were people who were appropriate for the time period that they were in as far as getting certain things done that was needed to advance the country. Like FDR, for example, is we have stuff like all the benefits and stuff like that. You may think they're like ineffective or not used the way they're supposed to be used now, but at the time where he activated and did all this stuff, they were needed. Country just went through a war. We just went through a Great Depression. People were really, really poor and they needed help, especially from their government. Their government is supposed to help them. So he went around the Senate and all those backs, and he pushed all that shit through and got it done. And it was illegal. What he did, technically, you're not supposed to do, but he did it anyway because he thought it'd be beneficial to the country as a whole.
And technically, he was right. You can argue how it affected the country down the road, but at the time that he did it, you could argue it's probably the correct thing to do.
Yeah. Needs and stuff
And
could change throughout time. So
right, exactly. And it's just that like the stuff that we deal with now, it's just not the same issue. We haven't evolved. We're still laying on stuff that happened in the 90s, 80s, 70s and stuff like that, and people are still laying on that from both parties.
sometimes I wonder if technology advanced
Don't
too
change.
fast because we're still so similar to how we were like so many years ago, but our technology is taking leaps and bounds that are kind of crazy. But let me just read the comments real quick, and then I want to hear from who didn't talk yet, Lizard and Miles, I think. Um,
Yeah,
People who
that's all.
think one thing alone can solve everything, I don't think most do that. It's just that people are put in boxes in that regard. Most people are fairly complex. Lobbyists are everywhere and corruption. Till I think it's good to support the less evil when needed, and politicians all of them have to deal with powerful lobbies if they fight or compromise with them. Like you said, it's very idealistic, and I know it's not a real take. I just threw it out there. So that type of mindset is super rare. Unfortunately, these most of these politicians and elites care more about their own benefits and how they want to solve issues without taking other people's opinions into consideration. My dad was a Democrat for years, and after a certain black president, he became conservative. You know what's very interesting? A lot of people I know who were like very much voted for Obama twice and voted for Trump in 2016. I wonder. I'm not. I'm not. I couldn't get. I can't tap into their mindset, but um, that is like that sentence. Although I've seen it kind of remixed in different ways, is not something that's unheard of. I've heard it a lot with a lot of people, who especially were like, yo, I used to be super liberal in 2008, and after whatever, But okay. Um,
It was misinformation and
I
Donald
can no,
Trump.
but
That's what it was.
I can explain that
Donald Trump.
from a very like basic point of view as far as just like we really are in an age where nobody, and you shouldn't, you never really should have, but we really are in an age where nobody trusts anything as far as their politicians and media.
mhm.
Like nobody trusts any of it. And Trump was just such a speak your mind kind of guy. Like you said, the charisma. Like obviously for a lot of people, we just like, but there was a lot of people, especially like average people, especially a lot of like farmers and people with those type of jobs, people who just still do kind of like working class jobs, the regular ones that they feed into that because they're just. It's really easy to ignite, put people in power that are not great when a lot of people are angry and they don't know where to point. Because he just goes to a person that he just he's so confident, even when he's wrong, he's so confident, and he goes so such a strong like such belief in himself that people just automatically like gravitate towards that. 'Cause for a lot of people, they see that as some form of leadership. They're not looking at it like, you know what, I should deep dive into like what he's saying or just like his background. Like people don't do that on average. Let's just be honest. On average, people do not look at what is this person's stance. What does this person do this? What does this person do that? He was going through and laying like a like a vocal smackdown on other politicians, running them over, seeing him very alpha, this, that, and the other, and just like it just was putting him in a very strong position because of that. Because he was doing things that were like weren't politically correct, but it was basically going against the grain. People felt like he was going against the system.
Mhm.
That obviously I don't believe that's correct in any notion and sense. But for a lot of people, they just wanted something different. They just wanted something different, right or wrong.
Fair enough.
And that's just feel like that's just kind of what happened. He kind of hit his stride at the perfect time, and he went against the perfect candidate
Uh,
because
Yeah,
anybody that was
I have a follow up
reasonable.
after you're done.
Gotcha. Anybody who was reasonable, or like the Democrats were actually smart and they were actually pouring their resources into younger candidates instead of putting 60 and 70-year-old white people back on the forefront. If they were actually trying to be diverse, if they were trying to dive into more Hispanics, more Asians, more younger black people, people who are in their late 30s, at least early 40s, at least, like because I think you have to be 35 to be president, right? Somebody back me up on
yeah,
that. I
I
think
actually,
yeah,
yeah.
you got to at least be
If
I actually
35.
don't know.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't know. But yeah, you got to be at least 35. But like we don't need like the fact that we're still voting for old white people is already in itself inherently like terrible. So like yeah, it's just easier to do it. And after Obama, and the whole thing with Obama is that people don't understand like
it's his fault too. I'm not saying he should be scot free because he didn't handle things correctly. I think he was very he does the very democratic thing in the first place where they try to play nice. He wasn't very like aggressive, and he didn't take advantage fully of the thing he had there. But people just put too much stock into Obama stuff, and just was like, oh, he didn't do this, this, and this, and they felt betrayed because he was black, and it was like, oh, it's our first black president. They expected him to move mountains, and that's
Louis
not
said,
really how any of
Pokemon
that.
go to the pole. I remember that shit.
When it's like that's not really how it works in the first place. People don't even a lot of people don't even understand like the political like system where, and I'm not saying he's a good president, but to me, he's not good or bad. Like he just was. Like he didn't do anything, and then
You're
it's just
taking
like
it
there's
very
so
matter
much.
of factly. I got you.
Yeah, it's just there's just so much that happens with that stuff, and people don't understand that it's just like he don't deserve like all the blame, and he don't deserve no credit necessarily either. But people don't understand how to look at it like that.
Yeah, I
Cause
got
I'm
you.
just like, and then people don't understand that like a lot of stuff that happens is an effect from the president that happened before you. Cause
Yeah,
like
that's what I was gonna say, Vince. I was gonna say he's on the better side considering the situation that he came into.
but people don't look at it like that because people are just like Bush is the reason that the depression starts. It starts with his presidency.
Yeah,
Decisions he made with
that
his stuff.
recession was crazy.
Yeah, the recession starts with the president before you, and it trickles down, and then you walk into the middle of a recession. But people are just like, oh, he started the recession because it happened during his whole entire presidency. That's not true. It didn't have nothing to do with him. He wasn't president. He just left to clean up the mess that was left behind. That starts 10, 20 years prior before he even gets there. And like I said, I'm not saying he handled all of it the best because he obviously didn't. But people don't understand that effect. And then it's just like, oh, now he's walking out of office after being in office for 8 years. Trump walks in, and people are giving credit to Trump for the jobs being back up. But that's just a trend that's just happening. That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with him. That's just him kind of being there at the right time. The recession was going away. That means jobs are obviously going to tick back up. The job market's going to tick back up. Things are changing. People are creating new types of jobs. So him just being there does not necessarily mean he was creating jobs. Now I'm not saying he didn't have anything to do with creating jobs, period, because I think that'd be untrue too.
Okay.
It'd be completely wrong to say that he did nothing good while in office either, because that's 100% not true either. You just may not like it because who it's coming from, but it's not like he had nothing to do with it either. But like I said, it's too much credit, too much blame. Either way.
All right, I got you. Golden said Obama betrayed the black community in the eyes of a lot of black people. He made a bunch of progressive moves for other marginalized groups and allowed the general population to forget about the black struggle in America. Lots of blacks blame him for that. The potential was also Hillary was basically Obama again, so they wouldn't want those practices continued due to the bipartisan nature of America. You don't vote for either the endorsed or a blue or red candidate. It's practically a wasted vote. Someone said let Bernie run. Pretty much go to the poll. Lesser evil, that was some BS, probably the one. Yeah, Obama was simply another president with too much expectation due to his race. I feel it. Could bear a spin. Obama's pretty good. With all of the racism addressing. Have to fight against the urge to glorify or villainize. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta take something for literally like literally the sentence, it is what it is, you know? He did what he did. Some was good, some was bad, some was in the middle. But
it is what it is.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know. Is that your fan? Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's loud.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I still want to hear what you have to say. You have to talk over it. Just go ahead. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the
I'll go to Miles. I'll be back. I'll switch over then.
Miles, you remember the question? Initial question.
Can you please restate it?
Stop crying. Okay, so basically, I asked if you think it makes sense to have a political affiliation in these times. Why are people so loyal to certain parties and ideologies, right? So Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, socialism, libertarian, whatever. Like what? Like because I have to remember my whole idealistic spiel.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I think yes, I think it's probably always going to be important to have some form of political connection, right? Because it involves you. You live in a state, city, country,
We live in a
region,
society.
society. So whether you live in, it's probably important to know what's going on and ways in which you can uh, have a positive interaction with said politics in order to provide a net benefit for your community. So yeah, you should probably have some. I don't know if allegiance is the best word because I feel that's too like soul tying, but some connection.
No,
Do it.
allegiance is right in a lot of ways. To be honest, it really
Yeah.
is very
Do it.
like and
Yeah.
you tell
Okay.
them.
So then, the do I think the our bipartisan system is good? No, I think I would prefer if we had far more parties and far more things. 'Cause I think it would just
It didn't evolve. Sorry for cutting you off. It didn't evolve. It was like I'm not saying like
yes,
it was 100% wrong. It might have been correct for the time it was made, and it was correct for us to get to the point that we are now. But the problem is things change, and the problem is people don't understand that we need to change. They like
along with it, yes, 100%.
yeah, we changing.
Because
People think changing the system just because that's what our country was built off of doesn't mean that's what our country needs to be built off now. People don't understand like 200, 300 years is not a long time, but it also is a long time. You have to
yes,
evolve. You
Well,
have to
I'll say
change.
it's not long in terms of human history
Yeah, human history
and
is not.
biology changing, but the technological advances we've made are actually astronomical, and birth control is one of the most important things. I don't think people
yeah,
understand how big a deal that really was. But continue, Miles.
uh, fuck, yeah, because
You
like
talk about the
just
bipartisan parties.
yeah. So before I even go back to my thing, just a little tangent going off what Vince just said. Even could be wrong, but I'm relatively sure even our constitution, the initial plan was for that even our initial constitution would change with a specific. I don't remember what the specific years were, but every certain amount of years it was supposed to change along with it, but we just kind of kept it as is. But going back to the bipartisan shit, yeah, I think if we can have more parties, it would disseminate the us versus them mentality, and thus maybe create actually more conversations to actually make more progress and shit. I think it's the way it is because I think humans operate. Semi kind of touch on this. Humans operate in a very binary manner. Uh, you're good or you're bad. You know what I mean? And the moment you switch from one thing to the other, it's going to be very hard to kind of come back from that, right? So like, if I think someone's good, they've done good their whole life, they done one bad thing, they're bad. There's nothing else. There's no nuance in who this individual is as a person. And I think this kind of goes with this, where we often can do this in ways of categorizing people, which is them being evil or like crazy. That's ways to do that. But when we look at these people, we say they're evil, right? The Republicans did this maybe with wanting slavery. So then now we attach evil to their name, and thus anything they do as an attribute to that will also be evil.
Okay.
And thus, because of that, we can't accept anything that they say, anything that do, because that would be an admission of evil. But that's not how the world works, right? A stupid person can say something smart and be right. A person who can't cook, can probably make a good dish. Things can happen. A broken clock is right. So just because I like Republicans doesn't mean Republicans are always going to say something that's fucking wrong. That's an ignorant way to view it. But the manner in which we just deal with people naturally has now affected politics in a pretty poor way now, that I think it's damn near impossible to not look at it in a very binary manner. I don't see it not changing.
I feel it.
And I think this kind of bleeds into a lot of other topics where I think we need to not have so many hard lines as to what we will accept and not accept from other parties, because then there's just no point of anything then.
Okay.
We haven't evolved to a point where we're voting on what is best for us, the individual.
Yeah.
Like
We're just kind of
instead of
like
just
trying to
voting for
keep
party.
another party out, actually, because I'd argue that's actually a little bit similar down here. But I want to
Yeah,
hear I want
because
to hear
you're not.
hold on. I want to hear Sammy's thoughts on this first. Cause he's
So,
back.
my bad. Could you restate the question? 'Cause I don't think I
Oh
heard the
my
full.
god.
So
I was in
does
and
it
out. I'm not gonna lie.
does it make sense to have a
Also, can you hear
political?
my fan?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Does it make sense to have a political affiliation in these times? Why are people so loyal to parties? And we're not, and I want to add in certain like other things too. So I'm thinking Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, libertarian, socialist, lobbyist, whatever. Why do you think people like? I have to remember my whole little idealistic spiel and how I framed it. What are your thoughts on that? Like, does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Okay. So you're asking, is it important to have it, and why do people have it? Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's. How do I? Okay, I'll say why I think why do people do it. I just think it's just. I mean, it's just latching onto what you think is the best for you.
Yeah.
Um, as for also just for bipartisanship, yeah, I don't think the two-party system works because I think Naya knows about this. And like liberals, right? And liberals and conservatives. There's a lot of NDP, which is like the third party in America, in Canada.
The New Democratic
A lot of
Party.
NDP before. Well, yeah, it's like the third big party, right? But it's always the liberals and conservatives. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We got the
Like
Green
so,
Party. There's a couple other ones, but yeah, keep going.
yeah, Bloc to Quebec. Shout out,
Yeah.
shout out to Quebec.
Quebec.
No, but like what I meant, yeah, what I meant by that is just as so that you guys are saying, it's more about voting about what you don't want rather than what you want. Like I see a lot of NDP people vote for liberals just because they don't want conservatives to win. It's more, which I think is just wrong. Because I think you should be able to vote for what you want rather than
What you don't want.
what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I think ranked voting is something that would probably make more sense if we do just purely voting. Like, if you're able to vote, well, I want the Democrats first, I want this third party second, I want this, and then I want the Republicans last, right? Because that would at least, that would work. And, one second.
I feel it. Oh,
Now it's coughing, my bad. As for, I think, yes, I think it's important to have a political and economic agreement. I don't think it has to be set, but I think
so it could be malleable. As times change, you can.
yes.
Okay, all right. That at least. Okay.
No, and that, but I just mean like
Sorry.
let's say you go for some like I don't know, team Bob, the Bob team, right?
Yeah.
And you agree with their points, but there's certain things that you don't agree with. Maybe you can not. You don't have to be a thing. But I think it's having a political identity is kind of important, depending where you are. It's like it's important for you, and it's important for like. I mean, I get the whole thing about I don't care about my like, I don't care what my friends are or whatever, right? But I'm sorry, if my friends are fascists, I'm not gonna be a friend of them. Like, I need to know like that's an extreme example, but you know what I mean. Like, I need to know. And it's like important for other people to know. Like, if I have a general idea of what your leaning is, um, yeah, I think it's important then. But yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
So case in point, there was some controversy going on, and EDP was throwing his 2 cents, and no one wanted to hear his opinion, regardless if he's running wrong. Isn't he not in jail?
Staff.
People acquire their party preference via political socialization, basically just factors that shape your values, like you guys have already been discussing. So family, friends, school, church. You'll always have people who go against their environment, but most people go with the grain. Personally, the loyalty makes no sense to me. I think they do it because people are sheep and don't want to think for themselves. The thing is, it's currently just unacceptable to girls better not regress. It's how it is now, but it has become multiple possible inning parties. Come back for something like that. I don't like any of the Ontario candidates either. By the way, banana. I don't know. Ideology, because especially in certain times, people cling to it regardless of how. Okay, that makes sense to me. We think things and believe things. I came here just to say hi. He came from BDA. Very funny hearing you talking comments with Brago. Oh, what's up? Thank you for coming through. Yeah, he just hit me up randomly, so that was really cool of him. I actually really appreciate him doing that. It helped me out a lot. Yeah, so I guess one of the other reasons I asked that question, I actually had something to piggyback off what Vince said about it. He said it so long ago, I lost the plot on that. It's because I'm one of the only people that I guess I run into a lot. And I don't know everyone who everyone here is, but like I'm completely apolitical. There's not a single party or ideology that represents my beliefs. You might have, let's say every party has 10 things they believe in. At most, each one might have two things that I can be like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So hearing someone who's a liberal, libertarian, or lobbyist, or socialist, or this, or conservative, and blah, blah, talk, they all just piss me off. I just think they're all ridiculous. Cause I just don't want, I can't wrap my head around the idea that there's kind of one type of way to solve the problems in your country. I think you need to bits and pieces from everywhere. But
Yeah, because again, as I said, the first one to answer this, it's not about solving the problem in
no,
the country. It's about benefit.
I understand that because this is kind of me and Vince speak about this often, but it's the reason that have us having to have these conversations tend to bother me so much because to me the division is intentional, right versus left wing, men versus women, heterosexuality versus homosexuality. You know, take your damn pick, right? It's all division, divide and conquer. They divide us up. They radicalize you. They make you think something so important and believe, and they profit off of that. We actually have a common enemy, which is the establishment and whatnot, and and government authorities. But because we've done things like we broke up families, communities, men and women can't get along amongst some other kind of bullshit. They keep winning, which is why it frustrates me to even have to do this because I'm like, there's just an obvious literal like antagonist we can all be working together to overcome. But you know how humans are. It is what it is. So
I also feel very conflicted, kind of sometimes because it's just like as a black person in America, you know, your ancestors fought so for the right to vote. So I fundamentally really believe that you should use it at all times. Because I'm also a person that believes that you can't complain about the problem if you're trying to fix it or at least try to get in a new solution. I don't care if you don't vote for one of the two parties, but you should still vote. Even
mm,
if you vote for somebody who's technically not on the card. Because technically you could do that. You could vote for somebody who's not on the. If I wanted to hypothetically, let's just say I wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, I could still do that, even if he wasn't an option. Still could do it.
I feel that my dad's definitely instilled the importance of that because of how hard our people fought for that, right? This is gonna
But I'm
sound
with you. But I'm
this is
with you
gonna
though. I
sound
don't
weirdly
think.
backwards though.
Oh, go ahead.
I hate the fact that certain people vote. So many idiots in this country vote, bro. My country, your
Oh, I
country,
understand
and
that.
I'm like, you
Yeah,
should
it's
not
super.
vote. You should not have the right to vote. You're a fucking dumbass. I really believe that, but that's a
Uh,
completely different topic and territory because I literally know people on voting day texting me who should I'm like, don't. Oh my god, we're gonna die. I mean like I mean I'm like, yo,
Yeah, some clowns.
this is somebody who tells me I don't care about politics and you're gonna march to the poll confidently. Like, bro, don't you vote? You don't. You're gonna say. Anyways, my bad. Sorry, Miles. What are you gonna say?
uh, no, I'll just leave that. That's a different can of worms. I was just gonna say, with the thing that you said about the parties, uh, fuck, what was I about to say? Oh, also, some people just because like you're part of a party doesn't mean you're always going to align with said views of a party.
Yes, that's actually very true.
Uh,
Absolutely.
That's how it should be,
so I
though.
think, yeah, so I think sometimes people are like, oh, this person's like a Republican, so he'll never vote for a Democratic thing. Which I mean, Republicans usually always tend to vote Republican even more so than
Yeah, they're
Democrats voting
super.
Democrat.
The difference. I think
But
that's part of the big difference between them.
yeah,
They're
but that
super
doesn't mean that's
loyal,
always
regardless.
the case, right?
No, it's
So
not.
like you can still have people switching and voting and doing all this. So there needs to be again going back to what we were saying, a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more talking, a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, that's all I would say.
No, for sure. I do think what a difference though between the Republican. This is what I was talking about too. Like when we always talk about these things, I hear even with my brothers that are super Afrocentric and care about very radicalized with black people type of things. They're always talking about the left, and I asked one time, I was like, "Why are you always talking about the left?" But they're like, "Oh, because we already know like the right is the enemy. Like that's obvious. Like they're not even trying to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
It's people that think that the left aren't, and they really are." And it's like to me, like, and I understand it. Like I said, it just makes these things so difficult because for me, like the right, even when they don't agree, like there's probably a lot of people that were Republican that thought Trump was an idiot and they didn't agree with most of the things he said, but they got such strong party loyalty that they just gonna vote for Republican no matter what. They
Yeah.
don't care who you throw up out there. They gonna stay with the party. That's just what they do. It's almost admirable if it wasn't so, you know, scary at the same
Asinine.
time. Like it's just like they're just gonna do that no matter what, but they just continue to vote for the party no matter who up there. As far as because I feel like the Democratic Party is such a split between a younger generation and the old people that's why I always feel like to me it's just like I don't even know why we be like I said, Democrats are liberal because they're not. They're not the same group of people. Liberals tend to be younger or somewhere between ages 18 and like 30, and Democrats be people like plus 30 to like, death,
Mm-hmm.
however old you say they are. But like, it's just not the same group of people. They care about the same group of things. A lot of people who are Democrat vote Democrat, like Nye said, or like Pat said earlier. A lot of black people are still technically really conservative. They're not voting for gay rights and things of that nature. Like they don't honestly, they're not caring about any of that type of stuff. So it just kind of it's the stuff that certain young people care about too, or younger generations. They don't care about the same group of stuff. They're not looking necessarily at war, domestic, or foreign policy rather. Foreign policy, war. They care about money stuff. How we gonna get a job? How we gonna go pay for grocery store? How we gonna pay for to go to apartment? Who's forgiving my student loans? Like that's a lot of stuff that young people care about. They don't really care about foreign stuff except from a
There was
liber
something
like a
about student loans
humanitarian point
and
of view.
how it fucks up the economy that I don't know if it's true or not that I was hearing, but I don't even remember it. So honestly, I'm sorry I brought it up. So keep going.
No, you're good. The thing, from an understandable point of view, I understand where that argument's coming from. But the problem is, then why are we pumping all this money that we don't have into war, stuff like into
Mm,
military? What do we need a giant military and all that? But that's whatever.
I feel
Brexit was like,
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
I before somebody goes, I want to chime in on this. 'Cause I know you probably have to go at some point, but so I thought that was funny. I kind of want to use this as a lead up because um I retweeted something that you said was a parody account, but sorry, I know you were confused that day, and I wasn't in the mood to explain myself. But long story short, I know the tool is real. That's all I cared about. I don't care that that site's a parody site or whatever. I literally saw people who work there saying I don't use this tool. I didn't know it exists because Blizzard put out a statement saying we're so proud of us because you have this diversity tool. So if anyone doesn't know, they got they got what some people are calling a wokometer in that company. So when they're see if I can pull up something here where they when they have to like create a character, they got some built-in things and biases and like algorithmic things that make it so you don't create a token character or anything of the sort, which I thought was kind of funny and ridiculous at the same time. But genuine question for you guys is like I'm gonna use it as a setup is how important do you think representation is in video games and media and things of that nature, and do you think there is a right way to do it?
I'm gonna go
yes.
first
I think
because
He's going.
yeah,
I know I said Simi. Like I know I said that.
I am absolutely going for because it is already past my bedtime. But yeah, so it is like representation is actually 101% important. And this is what I was arguing. This is what I was saying before. I don't even remember the fucking topic that I said this on. But yeah, the problem that we got today is that representation is important, but the way that people argue it is not the right way to do it. So they have a legitimate footing, but because they're being so fucking obnoxious and annoying about it,
Mm-hmm.
it comes off as or is deemed as not important or overblown. Because
Yeah,
I'll tell you right now, shut up. I'll tell you right now,
Oh my god.
I was agreeing.
I'm even a victim of this because I remember back in the days playing games like freaking Shut Your Mouth and Here Comes the Pain and Day of Reckoning. Those are all wrestling games. Do you think I was creating black wrestlers when I was going to create a wrestler? Hell no.
Could you?
You absolutely could.
Oh, that's interesting.
Nigga, you could make them fucking blue and purple and green and all type of other shit.
That's probably what my dumb ass would have done.
was-
I'd have been a rainbow nigga. But keep going.
I was 101% always making white wrestlers. Why? Because that's all I was seeing. That's all was on the TV. That was all that was being pushed. Right? Those are the only people that were popular that I gravitated towards. There was hardly any black wrestlers on the fucking TV, let alone getting pushed, let alone main eventing, let alone winning their storylines if they wasn't flat out heel or not having ridiculous gimmicks, right? So representation, it absolutely is important and it affects all of us. You may not realize it, but it absolutely affects all of us. And it could do so in a very small, microaggressive way. Yeah. A microaggressive way that builds up over time, or it's flat out obvious. But it does affect us and it is important. Now, people saying like, I should say perfect example, so we talk about video games, fucking whoever who made freaking Celeste coming out 9 years after the game talk about, oh yeah, by the way, the main character is
trans.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, first of all, everyone who played the game already figured that out. And second of all, it don't fucking matter no more. The game is almost 10 years old. What are you now saying this for? Right? So it's the way that people are bringing it up and the way that they're arguing for it is not the right way to go about it. It comes off as obnoxious, disingenuous, virtual signaling, so performative, so on and so forth. But is it important? Absolutely. It is important to see people that look like you being shown on a TV because it does something to your psyche. It shows you that that you too could do whatever, that you two are also important, so on and so forth, right? Versus just seeing the same type of thing over and over and over and over again. You always automatically follow that fucking trend.
Should a successful company care about that? If they make games with a bunch of white people shooting up whatever and it makes money every year, should they care about having to implement that? Because at the end of the day, money.
No.
Okay.
At the end of the day, what should matter is make it, well, at least just in the case of video games, right? Now, of course, this is a ridiculously nuanced topic because it delves into everything, not just video games, but books and TVs. Yeah, but in the case of strictly video games, the only thing that should be important is making the game that you want to make, right? So, like, for example, in Call of Duty, it's not really a problem when the majority of the cast is fucking white and whatnot, because look at what you're playing as. You're usually some type of American or a UK soldier. The majority of the niggas in them fucking armies are fucking white. And they doing all type of other shit, right? So that makes sense. And another example, one of my favorite games, I believe it came on the year 2017. My game of the year of that year, Kingdom Come Deliverance. There's not a single black person in that game, right? That they didn't do that because we hate black people, but it took place during a very specific medieval time period, and in a yes,
so it was historically relevant.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it like takes place. It's in a fictional, I believe it's fucking fictional, or like a sort of blend of countries at the time, but like it takes place in like the fucking Hungary and fucking Czech area and whatnot. You not see no fucking black people in those fucking Middle Ages over there, right? So it's 101% is just making the type of game you want to make. Now people arguing shit like, and this is something I've seen too. Oh, and EA puts too many black people and women in their games. That is not a comment I made up. That is a comment I've seen. Specifically, they was talking up. I saw that comment under a Battlefield 1 trailer.
Remember the River City Girls?
Oh my,
is there too much feminism in the game? What did he
it's a
say?
cute anime game. I'm like, jeez.
Sorry, you go ahead.
But yeah, they said that EA puts too many black people and women in their games, and they was saying this in regards to Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 takes place during World War One, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying how there's too many black people in the game, but I'm like, historically speaking, there was an entire fucking black squadron, right? So it's it's a thing when in regards to not political, but historical accuracy, then yeah, sure. But it absolutely is just dependent on making the game that you want. Now, them character that you show me from whatever fucking Marvel comic, what was that shit?
Save space, no flame.
What the that?
No, they got it. I gotta pull up overtime for the one time. Oh my god, that shit was.
That
so
is
funny.
some of the most ridiculous shit I have ever seen in my entire life. And of course, arguments that I see like, why is a freaking white person writing a novel about fucking inner city Latino people? These types of things are valid because what the fuck do you know about that? Was you living in those fucking neighborhoods? Do you know people who lived or came from those neighborhoods? So on and so. Have you studied neighborhoods like that? Why they're like that? So and the people that live in them, so on and so forth. Arguments like that are valid and important, and they have a place, and they absolutely have a stance. But things like tokenism, token characters, it still fucking exists. And a lot of those the big corporation, the big wigs, especially Activision Blizzard, they're not your fucking allies, bro. At least in the realm of video games, it's easier because you can just go buy fucking indie games from people that actually give a fuck about this shit. From developers who are actually fucking trans or who actually stand up for fucking LGBTQ plus rights and shit like that, right? And who aren't just making token shit. Those type of VNs like fucking Necrobarista and fucking Coffee Talk and all type of other shit, right? All those games are that they come from a genuine place of the heart, not from greed.
Mm-hmm.
Other places, it's way harder because that's where you have to worry about corporals and fucking, things like ratings and shit like that. But to wrap it all up in a nice bubble, representation is absolutely fucking important. But there's a way to go about it. You don't need to be annoying and gung ho like, yo, shit don't got no black people in it. Hey, I ain't looking at that. Yo, a black person? Yo, son, we can hit that.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, and it's something that you're not going to see me talk about, but like, I get happy when I see freaking black characters or just black people doing more shit. And I absolutely pop big whenever I see cool looking black characters too in the whole 2D realm and
the
space.
part you said is apt because I wonder if I point it out when I see it because I think it's legitimately funny or because I'm so unaccustomed to it I have to do it. Oh look, a Negro. Like
Yeah, exactly. Because we grew up during the era where all we see is fucking white people doing shit. They on the TV, they saving the world, they blowing up the world, they leaving the world to burn, they doing everything. We not doing shit. So it's like you see a black person like, oh shit, a Negro. Right? And that has a long lasting effect. The same thing with, dark skin equaling bad. Why is that whenever a character goes evil or there's an evil character, they got dark skin? Right? That has an effect on all of us. And you see that shit from a young age and you see it growing up. You fucking internalize it subconsciously or consciously. Right? So all that shit is important. But the way that these fucking paragon of virtue fake ass niggas going about it on the internet, they greatly diminish the actual importance of this thing.
Yes.
And with that note, I'll see y'all.
All right, thank you for coming.
So way past.
All right, Sammy.
Of
Good night,
course.
brother.
We'll start earlier tomorrow.
Good night.
Until another day, my friends. The chain around my neck tightens once more. I must return to the sack I call a bed to get my measly 5 hours of sleep. Because once my eyes open again, I must return to the endless abyss known as the proverbial hamster wheel, where I will run endlessly and tirelessly put hours on it and just to make ends meet. And the process repeats again. That's yeah.
It's so funny, bro.
Easy, bro.
Well, let me read the
That
comments
nigga
real quick.
kills me, bro.
He's so nuts. Good question. Younger people who see problems, they look confident. People do not. But not. Representation for take representation is more harmful than improper implementation of it. Important, but depends. There is a lot of hollow ones too, but the careful ones make the game better. Representation is really important, but it's really executed well. Most media will make a gay person being gay their entire personality. Now, I'm not gay, but to me, it's at least gross and can be downright disgusting. Apex is a perfect example of pointless representation. If a lot of people of every sexual orientation, race, and ethnicity, but it does not play into any of their character identities at all. The best gay representation is probably when it's in a more interesting story, as just there, or the casual bi optioning and dating characters. Fully agree. Yeah, and you gotta get to see the safe space and stuff. Got the message, bad representation, edgy vampire, somehow the best of them. Call me homophobic all you want, but I have no problem that a gay Superman is unnecessary and stupid. Pink kryptonite makes Clark Kent whatever. It's supposed to be his son though. It's John Kent, I think it was. So I think he takes the mantle of Superman. So it's not Clark Kent. I like the sitcom Friends. I think it's very funny. I also love Living Single. I think it's funny. I don't relate to Friends, but I enjoy it. He said, "Take care of Vince." That's not. That was Simi, not Vince. Vince is still here. The villain that reads Kubera is Vince. But actually, Pat, I want you to start this one off. So, how important do you think representation is, and is there a right way to do it?
How important is representation? Well, I mean,
I probably have the most controversial take on this, but go ahead.
I'm not sure if I can add anything more to what Simi already did. He pretty much summed up how I feel, where it's like I've always felt that representation is necessary because in a society there are multiple different demographics and they have different cultures and stuff like that. And I think to provide an accurate experience of whatever it is that you're trying to create, you should best reflect what actually happens. So, like, the best
I agree.
works of fiction are rooted in reality, right?
Yeah.
So, in that note, the representation fits that mold. But I do agree with the point that representation just for the sake of it is bad because there's a lot of characters nowadays that are created with a certain identity, and the only thing they have to offer is said identity that they were created for. And that's just fucking annoying.
I agree.
Like, aside from the LGBT thing, but like, when you have like the current thing in manga nowadays where they have female characters where they fight, so all of a sudden because they got hands they're a good character. No. Like, women are nuanced. Women are people. They're not just the object. There are women that seek to be protected. There are women that seek to stand on their own footing and make something of themselves. There are women that like to be vulnerable. There are women that like to be strong. Like, it's a spectrum. It's not just all the way one thing. I made this character for the sole purpose of this. Why?
No, I feel you because, like, I mean, I guess I'll just kind of say my spiel on it. I think it's important.
Wait. Before you go, let me say mine. Because I might agree with you. So I want to get mine out before you get yours up. I'm not 100% certain.
Right.
Okay, so for me, I don't think mine is like crazy cut, but yes and no. I think it's important as you're growing up, but I think it's kind of moronic to expect it in everything all the time, especially when you know where it's coming.
I agree with that.
because let's just be honest. If you're expecting a bunch of now, I'm not letting them off the hook because there's a lot of people that are those Japanese weeaboo fans that be from the U.S. They're not even Japanese that be letting them off the hook. But to expect black characters or certain types of things from them, I think it's silly. But
Yeah.
if they do put them in their story, I think it's fair game to criticize them when they come off as what is it? You know the word I'm talking about where they make them very stereotypical, very like very racist features and all that. Start with a C. I can't say it. I have a problem pronouncing that word. But caricatures or whatever. One of y'all know.
Caricatures?
But yeah, I can't.
Caricatures.
Yeah. That's awful, and they should be, especially in the year like it was never acceptable, but especially 2022. You could draw a regular black person, or just one that don't look like crazy like that. And then it's just like they got certain stereotypes. They put American characters, and we criticize Americans for doing the same things, making racist Asian characters and stuff like that, and talking about ching chong and all that. Very very racist. You can get on them for the same thing about making black people that always seem to be want to be sexual and fuck all their women. That's all they think about. Just fight and fuck all their women, and they think we're that type of person, stuff like that. So I think that that's very good, but I just don't really expect it, and I don't like doing it for no reason. Now, I've kind of changed my opinion on this as I've gotten a little bit older and kind of see it out there because I used to care about quote unquote comic book accuracy, but I also realized that comic books change so much because of how many people get their hands on them and they can do it too. So sometimes I just simply just don't respect who wrote certain stories because I'm just like they're not talking about nothing, they're not doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. But kind of piggyback off what Pat said earlier, I don't like just creating things or just doing things for the sake of doing it. And also piggybacking off Pat said with the women character, just because they have hands does not make them raw. My thing is to me, it's a simple fix. I don't even know why they make some of these things so hard. Because some of these things are just simply as just do what you would do for your male characters, but just make them women.
Yeah.
Write it how you would write a male character, except they're a woman. You can do that, especially if it's not something that has to do with something super fairly realistic. If you're writing a shonen manga, where most of the things are gonna be solved by hand, are gonna be super powerful figures, stuff like that. You don't need to make them like care about a bunch of woman-esque things or things that you would classify with that. You could write them just like a man because them being women does not really matter unless you make it matter or you hyper fixate on that. It's not gonna matter that much because they're just in this super powerful world where we don't even bring up those type of things in play.
Mm-hmm.
So just write them like how you would a male. You can make a battle junkie woman where all she cares about battle, or you can make a woman that's like a super evil sadistic fox. Like you could do all of that you would know for male.
You were there when we watched that one video by I think her I'm so sorry, I think it's baggage claim, where there I have an article where I think I was writing about like women in anime and manga or whatever. And the reason I made that video was because a lot of times what happens with me is somebody who you live long enough and, you just don't hear certain things from certain groups of people, right? So I remember the first time I saw a woman complaining about the representation of women, specifically Ray Skywalker, and being like, yo, this is actually garbage. And, like feminism, you think a woman's going to be lock and step with that type of thing. And, I was like interested in hearing what her problem was. And she's like, they're just making women men. And they're like, look how strong they are. And she's like, I've never seen being feminine and femininity and things like, having maternal instincts and like, being motherly and stuff like that, being able to bear children as a effing weakness. So when I have to watch all of these new shows where all of these new characters just simply get everything and they're awesome and their most powerful thing ever, take Mulan, the new live action one, for example, who has like inner chi and can like kick men like off the ground and stuff like that. She's like, I'm not like that. I'm not perfect. She was saying in that video, I had to struggle, learn, and crawl my way to get to where I was. So I don't actually resonate with these characters. So, like, when you said that, I thought about Maki from Jujutsu Kaisen. And I'd argue that that's not an interesting character. It's just a woman that could fight really well. Something that we tend to associate with masculinity. I know that's a testy subject. You can have your different whatever, masculine, feminine, whatever. But I'd argue that a lot of contemporary writers just tend to make a lot of their women way more masculine, and I actually think that's uninteresting. That's just me
Yeah,
though.
that's what I was saying, bro.
Hannah from
Women
Wolf Child.
have
Okay,
different
Hannah from
values.
Wolf Children is amazing to me because of the motherly part of her from Wolf Children. Ami and Yuki. To peep it, it's a really good movie. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, women, they're not like men. They have different things that they care about that you can incorporate in the story when you create these characters without compromising your story or what you want that character to do. Like,
Or you can be like, kind of like a hybrid. Sorry, to cut you off again. Because I was thinking of Tio earlier, right? And I'm not gonna say anything crazy, but Tio, went through her trials and tribulations and is actually a fighter that is kind of like in a magician's position. But on top of her being powerful and this and that and driven yada yada, she's got a little Sura like halfling, I think. I can't remember if Elman's a quarter or a half, but that she take care of. So you still get that maternal side from her. Does not at all detract from her strength and the things that she can do out there in the field. But you still get to see the other side. I still got to see her make meals and edit very, very, very tasty meals. That does not make the woman like, oh, you're in the kitchen, oh no, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't know. But anyways.
yeah,
Um,
Okay, I wanted to do a slight pushback. Okay,
go ahead.
for that, because what y'all are, both of
No,
y'all,
no,
I agree with
wait, wait,
y'all.
wait, wait, wait. If you're gonna say for something where it doesn't matter, it's just like a woman kicking ass in shonen. That makes sense to me, by the way. If you're gonna go there, I don't know.
Oh no, no, no. But I'm
Okay.
just saying when I'm just I guess more elaborating on the previous point I made. Cause I get what y'all saying about just trying to make them men. Because I think the Maki is an excellent point. But the problem with Maki is just she doesn't have any real like nuance to her character. Like not really. They try.
she does it, but it's tied to her sister, and her sister is a
that's what I'm
loser.
saying.
That's
But
the
it's not
problem.
as an individual, and it kind of came, and it came kind of like I don't want to say a forced point because I think that's a little unfair to say it was forced, but it didn't come at a time that like well for me and probably you and I it didn't really move us like you just kind of put that in there to like oh because she's getting this power up you tied it back to mine and like that and now that's like her motivation blah blah blah. They actually did have a really good relationship or a lot of things and it's just kind of like that's kind of convenient like to do that now and it's just kind of like what I was saying is I agree with y'all that like not and my thing is like when you're doing this you can have multiple characters that all are different because the problem what they do too is that they make all their female characters the same
Mhm.
like we talking about like or just like slight differences
It's
like
it's kind of like the issue with feminism and I guess the black community where no one's lock in step. There's no solidarity. Obviously because there's no monolith. Everyone's completely different. Because to say this in the simplest and quickest way, the idea of feminism is like if you want to be traditional, stay at home, be under a man, whatever the case is, bear children, cook and clean, that's totally viable. You're fine. You can do that. If you wanted to not do that, be career oriented, go up the corporate ladder, start your own business, whatever, get the bag, as the youth say, totally viable. If you want to be some hybrid of the two, completely viable. But what do you actually see? The house mom shits on the career woman. The career woman tells the house mom you don't have any fucking respect for yourself, blah, blah, blah. And then it just gets messy. You know what I'm saying?
yeah for me it's just like they don't do it like I said like and people will try to make arguments for it because they're like, oh, well, actually, this person did this and they actually have this feed and that feed. And my problem is, one, that's not on the screen, like I always say. And the thing is, what male and when you just talking about males when they put on the screen, there's a lot of males that are different. You got rival males, you got bully males, you got cool, calm, collected ones. You got the femboy ones, whatever you want to call them. Like they have just different combinations,
Yeah.
different versions of them. And the problem is when we get a lot of women in stories, we just don't have enough variety. If you're making strong women, they all have. If you're making weak women, they all have to be weak. And neither of those two things are correct. Both of those are wrong.
Okay.
They should. And when I say that's what I say. We're talking about. They should have just as much variety and nuance as the men do. You can make a woman who has a revenge tale. You can have a woman who wants to have children. You can have a woman that lost her family, and family was the most important thing. Like that's all things you would do with a man. There's different things you have to do it slightly different because they're women, but those are all things you could do with a man too. And that's all I'm saying.
I was gonna say Gintama and Full Metal are the two best examples of that,
Mhm.
where they have a diverse cast of women that care about
What's my girl
many
Izumi?
different things.
Man, Izumi's
Yeah,
so
Izumi
raw,
Curtis,
dog. Come on, dog. She's the one. She's tough. I love her.
respect teacher.
Yeah, she go, man. That's kind of like what I'm thinking because she's married to that dude, right?
Yes, and
Yeah,
she
man.
wanted to
Have
have
children.
children, but
Yeah,
she couldn't. And then, she performed human transmutation, and yeah.
yeah. I get it. Miles,
I don't.
how important is representation? You get to finish this off, Lizard.
I think representation is one of the most important things whenever you're doing storytelling. Uh, Me, at least, I guess it goes to how I view stories. The importance of stories is literally in order to connect and to teach. If you can't find something to attach yourself to, and that doesn't mean it necessarily has to be skin color or something, but there's usually something that draws you
You could
to
be
the
like
story that you
Kunedwan, you
can
be clapping
connect
cheeks.
with.
I relate. I'm joking. I'm
There
sorry.
you go. No, I mean it's true
I
though.
know,
I
but I was
mean,
just being an asshole. You go though.
yeah. So I think it's exceptionally important. I this is a topic that really pisses me off because the rhetoric in which I hear most people going against it is usually fucking stupid and is extremely disingenuous. I do not want to fucking hear your thought process on who's deserving, quote unquote, when you've been represented your whole life. You don't know what it's like being on the other side. Your opinion does not fucking matter. You've been okay your whole life. Shut the fuck up. Let other people enjoy something that they've never had the opportunity to. It's fucking ridiculous.
But the
Uh,
great replacement theory. I'm kidding.
I think, of course, there are certain aspects in which not everybody is going to be represented, and that's fine. If it's something that's supposed to be historically accurate or geographically accurate, then of course, if there's a show or movie about fucking like Britain or Celtic people in knighthood and like King Arthur, yeah, there's probably not going to be a black person there. That's okay. That's fine. However, if I'm looking at a general fantasy story, and this is, I think, where the biggest gripe comes in with a general fantasy story, I need to see representation. You cannot tell me you're imagining fucking dragons breathing around, but a black person is where your escapism stops. I refuse to believe that. I'm sorry.
I draw a hard line with the Negroes. Negroes were not slaying dragons.
Like, it's such a stupid way in which people interact with this topic. It's ridiculous. Like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is pretty broad. You have Essos and Westeros. It's a huge geographical location of multiple groups. You can have black people. It's fine. You can have them in Essos. That's okay. You'll be all right. So when I see these things, it's really annoying the manner in which I hear people talk about it because it is really important. And I think we need to. Now, I think the dangerous thing of certain things are when we have pre-established stuff and we're just re-switching for the sake of it. I think that's pretty dumb
Yes,
because
yes,
I think it should. I think it can set a precedent in which you're kind of presenting it as if, well, black people can't make good characters, that's why they have to make them white. And I don't like that.
yes.
I'd rather create it. However, I can also understand from a even monetary perspective of, well, if this is successful, you're probably gonna have an easier time presenting a new black character that's from an already credible thing. So I can understand both. I still prefer making new shit. Uh,
Yeah, I never
and
liked the
then
idea of like taking an existing, a pre-established character or something like that. I was
yeah.
lazy.
Now I do think there are some times in which race switching probably makes more actual accurate sense, right? At least now you can definitely be make sure I'm know what I'm talking about because I don't think even I'm fully right on this, but certain characters and their conception of like the 60s and 70s in comics had certain uh original maybe like different religious or ethnic backgrounds that were automatically converted to just being white because they weren't going to be more palatable, right?
Yeah.
So
Rachel
if it's a
Gould is probably a
reversal
good
of a
example of that a lot of
reversal,
times because he's supposed to be from. I never remember what he actually is. But he just looks like white at the time you see him.
but yeah, so like there you go, like a reversal is fine. And then wait, who did you say that was for?
That's her Razal Gould, Rachel Gould, Razal Gould.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be like Middle Eastern shit. And then like for me, if you even add a little bit, I think it's fine, right? So like if you look at Wolverine, I think if he was half indigenous, I think that would probably make logical sense. I don't think that's that crazy if he was half white, half indigenous.
Because he's Canadian?
But yeah.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So like I think something like that would be fine. I think certain minor tweaks are fine.
I guess the if you do that with him, I guess you might have to add that into his personality and his beliefs and whatnot. And I don't know if they have certain beliefs and certain things. But I hear what you're saying. Where like it would be nonsensical. Like for example, if he could speak French fluently, that makes perfect sense. And stuff like that. So I got you.
Yeah. So I think there's certain ones in which you can, and I think there's of course has to be a delicate balance of which ones you're gonna pick in an established thing like that, of course. But I do think it's important. I really enjoy seeing more. When we talk about Japan, I'm sorry, most of them can eat a fucking dick. Don't like. There's like I think I agree. I think Vince were the one that said earlier. If you're gonna have us in there, do it fucking right, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want these caricatures. I don't want these.
Japan in the East is so fundamentally different to us. I don't like applying our way of thinking to them. That's a personal thing though. That's just how I am.
Here's my thing, Naya. I would agree with you if this was older, right? That's why when I look at certain 90s and 80s, I'm relatively like I don't really get upset when I see like really crazy shit that they have said, right? However, in today's day and age, where technology is at our fingertips, and you're going to put this person in there, it is your duty, I think, as a writer, to make sure you're giving the due credit and respect to the groups that you're going to add into your story.
I see, but I think that's a very Western way of thinking.
Do it.
Honestly, I honestly really think that. That's all. Like, I really don't think they give a fuck down there about shit like that. Like, technology be damned. They create media for Japanese people, and if you happen to like it from another country, they just happen to like it. But their main focus, because they're kind of xenophobic, that's how they are. They care about the Japanese people before anything else. Like, listen, I like hear what you're saying, but like, I never get mad at Japan for that stuff, but I do think it's really funny when they implement like certain people from all over different countries. It's just like a very, very deep stereotype, or like they're just very ridiculous. Like I honestly think the way they represent Americans in their comics is always very funny to me. I'm like, bro,
fuck
why?
Americans.
Why does Bandit Keith have the flag on his head? Like, he don't gotta do this.
He got an American bandana, bro.
You gotta know that nigga. He arrogant. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't like. Oh man, but yeah. I hear what you're saying though.
Yeah, like because I think like it's fine then. If you said if they're being xenophobic, right, and you don't have it, like because most manga usually happen in Japan, right? JJK happening in Japan. Not really seeing black people's fine, right? But if I'm looking at something, and these aren't like bad examples, but like Naruto or Bleach where they have black characters, I like Killer Bee has his his thing. But Killer Bee is but Killer Bee is still more than just his rapping. You know what I mean? Yeah, but there are some mangas that just do disrespect to black people, or there's certain story elements, and it's I'd rather you just not represent us at all, which is easier. That would just go more in line with your belief of you just wanting to do Japanese shit, then just do that. That's fine.
I hear that.
You know what I mean?
I agree with Miles because there are mangaka who, when they do choose to represent us and do a good job, it makes me look at the rest of them like, if he can do it, I know the rest of y'all can do it. Because I look at the other aspects of their writing and I'm like, in most ways, you're better than this person. Like Okubo, for example. I can't fucking stand the way he objectifies women in his manga. It pisses me off. But when he draws black people and the way he has them act, I'm like, yo,
That shit goes
he's doing a
crazy.
really good fucking job. He's doing a really good job. So I'd be looking at others. I'm like, okay, I know you're a better writer than Okubo. You can do better than him at this if you tried.
But yeah, that's
He just said Okubo, so Fire Force falls under that.
I know who.
No,
It
no,
was. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no. I'm talking to the chat.
Oh my bad. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think this is that's my thing, and I also kind of hate when my last point. This is kind of like even with video games or shows. I do kind of hate when people get one. Stop sending fucking hate to actors or actresses that are just taking on roles. Okay, that is
I just
insane.
work here, bro. God damn.
Like the amount of hate people have been sending Annabeth for Percy Jackson. She's a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah, I
And
think I
people
saw
are cussing her
I
out,
saw a thing come out
going
and
to her
say
and saying the most insane shit.
if
He's
you
a
have a problem
child.
with this, you never absorbed any of the lessons in the book, and you're not an actual Percy Jackson fan. Is that what the guy who made this said?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, because one, the authors was sitting in on making sure of who he helped choose her. That's one. Two, the authors already said he made a mistake early on by making, with the lack of representation, by making so many people white. That's why in majority of his stories afterwards, he added a lot of diverse characters. So him doing this is fine because that was his goal initially anyway. It's far different than J.K. Rowling, who just says random shit 20 years later when it has no bearing on what the fuck is happening. You know what I mean? Her saying, "I really saw Hermione as like black, but also in a wheelchair." Bitch, no, you didn't. That's not how the story was.
Oh, J.K. Rowling capped like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
like,
funny as fuck.
So like,
I mean,
that's
she's a deranged individual though, so
I mean, again, I don't follow her enough to know that, but I hear a lot of things about her being a turf and all kind of stuff.
nah, it's not good, bro. It's not good. I'll tell you that straight up. And this is coming from someone who's a big fan of her work.
it isn't good.
Okay, hold on. Before we keep continuing, I want listeners' thoughts on this. He hasn't spoken in a while. Does reputation matter?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I really think representation is important. Like, I think kids, especially like kids, should be able to grow up and see things, be like, hey, this is me. Like, they should be able to relate to or experience people that are just like them in culture, in movies, right? In like media, what Semi was saying, like he didn't see me, like he you can see the negative effects, like with Semi and like he was saying, he just did white wrestlers because that's what he was used to seeing. But yeah, I think it's important. I kind of agree with what I agree with I think Miles was saying. I think like I don't think you need to prove what. Like I think it's important to not just be like like a stereotypical or character or like stereotypical or like a token version of a character. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this guy's personality is gay. But at the same time, I don't think like not ideally. But I think the best version is just to be a nuanced character. But ideally, I don't think they need to prove their worth. You know what I mean? Like,
I've always okay.
I mean, I guess it's.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I guess it's a system we're in. But not the system, but like nobody says, "Well, why is a white person white hero?" Like it's just given as a default.
Okay, so hold on. The hate on Annabelle actor is horrible and unwarranted, but the chain of Annabeth race is deeply concerning to me because now that she's black, they have to rework her entire background. Well, we'll see what they do. I mean, I don't like that.
They really
don't. I
don't.
don't like
if,
that
if
book.
If you read it, they don't.
As
really.
much as other people do, and I don't really care about this, but like here's like my 2 cents, all right? I'm probably more in line with Vince with the yes and no part, and here's what I mean. Here's what I mean by that. I never thought representation was important, probably like that, even though it was becoming more of a talking point until Black Panther came out. And then I saw my younger cousins, younger black kids, my friend's godson, Malachi, and just like the sheer adoration of seeing a superhero and a nation that shares your color, but on the big screen. And I saw what it did to them. And I was like, I had that in a way, but I never could attach myself to skin color. It was more like personality traits or, oh, this character's a good soccer player. So that's how I did it. And even from my pops, I thought it was so cool because, he grew up with comic books a long time ago, and it was up until 2016, when the man's in his mid 50s, he gets to see a black superhero on the big screen, and it meant a lot to him. And honestly, probably meant more to him. Unfortunately, the show doesn't pan out to be well about seeing Luke Cage, Power Man, because that's who he really grew up on. He was a Power Man guy, So that stuff's really cool. I don't know if it's just maybe because I just do not expect Japan to do that, fantasy or not. I just understand how the nation and country works. I understand how different the East is from the West. So when they have characters that are wildly racist or just no black people in general, it just doesn't bother me because I don't go to Japanese media expecting to see people who look like me. Now, if I pick up an Image comic book, completely different story. You feel what I'm saying? I don't go to Japan for that under any circumstance. If I find a character that's pretty cool that I like that shares my skin color, that's great. But I don't go there for that at all, ever. I really do not expect that from Japan. I just don't. But I also have enough reading material, where I get to see, quote unquote, myself represented, and that's through comics and other things that I read and play. So it's not like I can't find it, so I'm not starved for it. I know where to look to get it, and I know where to look to get it in a palatable way. Now, is there a right way to do it? I don't fucking know. I couldn't tell you. I personally believe the best way to implement some of these things is to have it be very naturally implemented into the narrative. So if you have a male character who's homosexual, maybe you just hear him say something like, "All right, goodbye," and then the other hand, "Oh, goodbye, all right, goodbye, I love you, I'll talk to you later," or whatever. And the other person on the phone it's just a man. You don't have to have him looking like a unicorn threw up. Like, that's the obvious gay. I think that's corny. I really do. Where it's like you have the one character who's different from the rest, and like their entire personality is like centered around, I'm the one black guy in the group, so I'm always like, y'all racist. Or I'm the one Asian in the group, and y'all always make me do the math and shit like that. That's mad weird. I don't think that's necessary. Like Vince said, like others said too, you can't really attach a type of personality to a person. Everyone's different, and everyone's growing up in different places. So I think it matters. I just don't think it's the end all be all. But I think you also have to be realistic with where you're looking. I just like, if you pick up a shonen manga, like, I'm sorry, you're not seeing niggas, bro. Like get over it. You're not seeing that shit. It's like don't cry to me. I don't want to hear it. Like, stop.
I usually get more upset about and in movies, TV shows, and books than I do manga. Especially movies, because I'm just like, a black person could literally be anything. Like you could have you could have a black chosen one. You could have a black nerd. You could have a black like why do we always have to be
We're not
cops,
monsters,
military?
bro.
Why we have to be cops, military people, and drug dealers? Like, why is that like every role a black person is in?
Or
That's what I'm saying.
or sorry, I take issue with this too. So because they do this with like Moon Girl and your T'Challa was the first to do it, and T'Challa became what he was. But they're like, okay, what if we take a black character, and we make them, a fucking genius? And I'm like, like, that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. I just want to see us represented in a multifaceted way, like you said.
Right, just be different. Just be different people. And also, I say this with
I think to make them super special, awesome, the greatest thing ever is lazy. Go ahead.
No, I mean, this is relevant, not relevant too. Every time they do an interracial, like I don't even care about stuff like that in movies. I just don't give a shit. But I'm just gonna use that example too. Why is interracial Hollywood for them basically racial just be with a white person, a different race with a white person. That's terrible too. Like, like I'm just like interracial is a black person with an Asian person, Mexican with an Asian person,
It
all
could,
sorts of stuff.
yeah, it
Like,
could be a
what?
brown
Why does it
person
need
with
to?
an Asian. Well, I guess brown people are still Asian, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but you get it. It's still different. Yeah, they just think that like you said. Because I brought this up because you were a person in the group full of white people. Why they do that? Like, why are we still doing this? Like, or just like, or you feel like the need has to be like the whole group has to be super diverse from every race. I'm like, y'all don't even do a simple thing where the group is two black people and two Asian people. Like, they don't even do something as basic as that. Like, that's still a diverse group technically. It's just not a group you would suspect. No, it has to be a white person, black person, Mexican person, and Asian person. It has to be an
We
all white
tend to
person and
align
one black
ourselves,
person.
like, I mean, I guess I'll speak for myself for this. Sorry, like my friends that I have are I align with them based on character, values, and personality, not skin color.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was gonna get to. Basically, sometimes
But
something I say, like,
but can I just say something real quick on that?
yeah, go ahead.
But do you think it's because you've been forced to because you've never had an opportunity to do the opposite?
What do you mean?
The reason why you're so big on personality traits and stuff is because it's not like you had a lot of black people to connect with anyway.
No,
So the only thing you could connect with others on is
most
that.
people I know are black.
No, I'm talking about from like stories and shit.
No, well, that's difficult because like, are you familiar with Wildstorm?
No.
It was kind of like an imprint that had a bunch of black creators, pretty much of black heroes and stuff like that. Where it's like I followed that kind of thing. Like I just knew where to look to find people that looked like
Gotcha.
me. I didn't expect it from the mainstream media or the movies or wherever it was. I always knew where to look to find that. When Dwayne McDuffie, rest in peace, and stuff like that. Like I just knew where to look. It's hard for me to explain really, but it's just like, you know, I pick up Japanese media. Japanese media is not giving me that. I'm like, and I came to that terms, and I was cool with that. Like I made peace with that so long ago. But it's like, okay, you know, if I read Saga, if I read Morning Glories, if I read motherfucking Deadly Class or something, yeah, I'm gonna get representation. Saya's from Japan, you know, Willie's black and shit from America. Marcus is actually damn it, is he Argentinian? I can't even remember now. It's been a while, but like I got that shit naturally. Like, I just know where to look to get that. So like I think the problem is I think that people scream at it from a place you're not gonna get it from, and I think that's an exercise in futility where I'm just like, you know, again, everyone's entitled to believe something, but I don't think that it's incumbent upon you to try to present your way of life and ideology to a place literally on the other side of the world where they live completely different than us. You might agree with it, you might not agree with it, but it's in their right the same way it's in your right to believe what you believe. They have every right to believe what they believe. Do I think like, you know, like I'll keep it very simple. If you're very religious and you're not a fan of homosexuality, that does not give you the permission and right to go around demonizing it and being a dick to them and hating on them. But if you just because if religiously you don't believe it, I have no issue with that. I don't think you're a bad person for that. I really don't. I'm tired of it's like you have to care about this thing or else you're a monster. Why? Me and you are not the same person. We don't have the same values.
What was I finna say? Oh, Miles, you were talking about do I feel like I think like that because there wasn't black people in the stuff that I was reading? You said something to that effect, right?
Yeah, because you don't see it.
It's probably subconscious there somewhere though.
I think yes and no for me because I think I've always been kind of a person that looked more at personality traits than anything because of just how much I've been involved with different races and different cultures my entire life. So I've always been personality more than anything. Not that I'm not one of those people who like, oh, I see race, but like I didn't go into like story, especially for me. I didn't really think about that often. I didn't go into stories thinking about like, oh, I need to see a black person.
Yeah,
I just was more kind of like
interesting.
I just needed somebody who I felt like, oh, I just really like this person's character. I just like the way they think. Yeah. But I will say this though, I think I did get to the point though when I had black people on the screen or something like that.
You'd care doubly a little bit.
Yeah, I care more from the standpoint that like, why are we always like this? Because I'm nothing like this, and I know a bunch of people who are nothing like this. Why are we all? we always represented like this?
It's why I could never watch the like Medea type movies. I actually hate those type of coon films. Like, there's some I like. Don't get it twisted. Like I like Friday, and there's a couple other ones I like. But like I'm just like
I can't do black
that's
comedy.
not me,
Tyler
bro.
Perry is going to hell for what he's done.
Yes.
He's actually going to hell.
Like and some of those things aren't bad. Like, cause there's like good TV show people in front of, like, there's nothing wrong with those people. Cause like The Wire is a great TV show from the standpoint it shows some of the struggle people from certain backgrounds
Yeah, but
get through, stuff like that. But
is it
every black person is not like that, and not every black person identifies with that either. And
before?
I don't think it's good to show black people that stuff all the time. You can disagree with me on that because you should
No,
know
I
stuff
100%.
like that,
I
but
agree.
you should show black people being successful and being in getting through life in different ways because we're not all like that. And also I think it shows kids that are just not just one path. You don't gotta turn into this, or you don't have to necessarily feel like this person represents you just because they're black.
Yes.
I think Calderon was a good character until I think season 3 because don't kick that. I mean, whatever. You take it how you want to take. I don't give a fuck. Jackson Hyde became, I believe, homosexual in the comics, and then they just decided to just implement that in the version that was in the show. I thought it was. I don't remember how they showed it though. I actually don't remember, but I thought that was just we got to make the comic version and the show version the same because of something. Because remember he was love with Tula and stuff like that. Like I thought it didn't really make sense, but Calderon's a good character in Young Justice as far as I can remember.
I'm just gonna go on my little tirade. I want to be done. I'm gonna get this out of my system. Okay.
Go ahead, do your thing.
One, if I hear someone ever say, when I see representation, it's political, I'm going to fucking lose my mind. Okay. Black people existing is not fucking political. It's them just existing.
Yeah.
If I see a black person or a Mexican person in the show and they're at it, it's not political. It's not fucking politics, man. Hey, maybe it's just that it's just a normal person.
It's too old.
Jesus Christ. When people can learn how to actually use the language they're fucking speaking, we'll be so much further ahead in life. Okay. Now on to video game examples. Naya, you made good points, right? About like even sexuality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Hades, right?
Yeah, Hades is a great game.
Zagreus is bi. And it's presented in one of the most naturalistic, you wouldn't even like really notice it manners.
Yeah.
And again, and even with that, it's a choice you can make. You can make them straight, bi, or gay. And the manner in which it's done it's very select dialogue that doesn't really matter. The whole thing is him getting his mom and making sure we get everything right with the family of Olympians. It works. No one complains. Everybody likes it because it works. And then another game, God of War, right? I think we have to be. I never really understood the concept of people getting mad about fictional mythological gods and stuff that don't have specific set things. Mm-hmm. Like in God of War, have you guys seen with the new God of War how there's the one black character?
No.
You said the new God of War? Do you mean like the Ragnarok
one's
coming out?
Yeah, the newest.
I haven't followed any news on it. No.
So in the newest one, I think her name's Agner Bonia or whatever. She's basically like in myth like Loki's wife, right? Mm. She's a god. But she's not a god. I mean, the entire Norse pantheon's weird because they're like kind of have giants and shit. Yeah. But she's a giant. Giants are blue. They're not white. I know they're Norse, but like canonically, they're ice giants. They're blue. That's their skin tone. And specifically, she's the mother of monsters and a shapeshifter. So her being black, how is that far-fetched? People like it's a weird thing in which like if it can also be easily put in like a thing, I don't see why there's a big deal. Plus, I think they're doing an addition of like adding the Egyptian gods to the myth anyway.
Interesting. Because
Tyr has hieroglyphics on his arms, so it makes it seem like he went to the Egyptian pantheon and she might be her like daughter. So like the way in which they're implementing it actually still makes logical sense as well, because it's their way of introducing a new pantheon. So I wish people would use their fucking brains when they look at these topics. And my last thing is, if we don't learn how to add fucking black hairstyles in video games, like, bro, Like, Vince, you can admit this. We're playing Elden Ring. There are no real black hairstyles.
They don't
Don't
give. They
tell me
don't
it's
give.
not. Don't
They
tell
don't
me it's
give
not
a flying
realistic.
fuck, bro.
I am literally killing gods. I'm fighting zombies. I'm slaying dragons. I'm riding horses that can double
Yeah,
jump.
they
Nigga, you
don't
can
give
give
a
me a black
flying.
hairstyle.
I can
It's
have I
not
can have an
realistic.
afro. You said I can have an
You can't
afro
have
and kill a
nothing. You
dragon.
can't have nothing, bro.
Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be
Lit,
realistic for the times. This isn't medieval. This isn't real life. This
Yeah.
is a video game. Grow
The
up.
the
legit.
race swapping thing we spoke on
See,
already.
see, see.
We
Here's the
wait
thing. I
wait.
wouldn't even.
Make new characters in a nutshell. We don't like it.
And then
Go ahead.
my
But I would
last
even
thing.
argue that it's not even medieval thing. That's the point. Like
It's
medieval.
not.
Like if you're actually trying to be medieval, it actually makes a lot more sense. Yeah, if you don't have, even though there was black people during that time, but at least that like is way more viable. This is not even medieval.
It's
It's
not.
not
It's
medieval.
real.
It's not medieval at all. Like they'll try to say that it is, but it's not. This is not medieval. Not even close.
Yes,
Just
and then
because that's the template from how you create the that's kind of the template of how people use fantasy, but it's not
it's
even close
fantasy.
to
It's
that
made up.
realism. Yeah,
It's
it's
not
not even close
real.
to even realism. Yeah,
And then
so it's like
my last thing, so I can be done and cleanse myself of this, is we gotta let the black trauma movies and shows
oh,
go.
I've been saying
We gotta let it go.
You don't wanna
Absolutely.
see another slave film, bro? You're not into that?
I just want to see a fantasy show where a black kid is riding a dragon and going crazy. That's all I want. I just want a
I'm
happy
saying
show.
just doing what
I want a
white
happy
kids
show.
do. Just doing what white kids do. It just be
I don't need black trauma. I refuse to watch anything black trauma related. I haven't watched anything black trauma related in like 3-4 years. I refuse. I've done
I
enough for a
low key want to
lifetime.
say Django's the last one, but even though that
Django not even black trauma.
I
because
know, but my point is just like with the slave and
kinda
all that
is.
shit. Like
It kind of is.
I just meant in the sense of like slavery,
Yeah.
like, we never talk about like Africa when how we're affluent from there. So like we always talk about like we were down, we were oppressed. They took it. It's like okay, we get it, we know it sucks. Can I see like you said? Can I just see some like little black girl like fighting dinosaurs or something like in space? Like I'm tired.
Like, bro, guess what I'm saying. I just want to see. I want to see black kids just do really random, weird shit in fantasy. Like that's all I want. Okay, I don't need anything crazy. But this black trauma shit gotta go. That's gotta.
No, I got you with all that.
But yeah, that's my whole rant.
That was good. I thought we touched on that really well. Actually, much more than I thought we would. But I think I agree with mostly everything that everyone was saying here. It matters. Just don't think it's the end all be all, and I just think you got to kind of look for it in the right places. It's just kind of my final spiel there. Let's get to our final segment. Shit, what did I write here? I think I wrote.
that wasn't the last one.
No.
Oh,
There's
shit.
2 more.
There's 2 more.
Ah!
There's 2 more, but I think we can
It's not
kind
the
of.
same.
I think we can kind of lump them into one. I wanted to talk about why we thought that the relationships right now, at least I want to say this, at least in the way that it's perceived throughout the internet and on the talking spaces you see on YouTube and on mainstream social media and media, that the relationships of men and women are so. Why are we so divided? Why are we so diametrically opposed right now? Why does it seem like we just can't get along?
I'm gonna tell you this. We are not. It's
Yeah, I
all
was
a
gonna say
game.
that. I was gonna say, I
People
think
get
it's
on the
fake.
internet and say these things.
There's a reason why
because they're
that's
bored.
why that's kind of why I phrased it the way that I phrased it because I have to remind myself that when I'm in the real world, it's just not like this. That's why I want to
You
frame
don't
it the way I
don't
want to
see
frame
it, bro.
You don't.
It's also like when I complain about people.
I like
talking
Dragon
me
Prince, by the way.
crazy.
Sorry, keep going.
Now, it's also like when I complain about how people come at me crazy online when we have a disagreement. Because in person, it very rarely ever happens. And I could count on one hand how many times it's happened. And of those few short instances, almost all of them have come down to a physical confrontation.
Yep.
Like all this stuff about women and men being divided and da da da.
Yo, wait, hold on, Pat. $200 date.
$200 dates,
$200
building a house.
Yo, Vince. Yo, who pays for the first date, man? Yo, how many times you gonna see this shit on Twitter, nigga? Like, fuck.
Bro, I got on Twitter in like 2009, and I first saw $200 dates. I think like 2012, and it's stuck with us ever since.
Now, Twitter be having the same dating prompts every other week. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But like I see all these things, and then I go out and like my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, they're married, they're having children. My friends, they're building families. I'm like, bro, I'm like this shit is just a game to them. They hop on this internet and say these things, and some of the same people that be saying, "Oh, I hate men, I hate women," then 2 years down the line, you see them they boot up.
They be boot up and saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a game to them. They don't care about this stuff.
Okay.
You know, many of my friends I've seen say women ain't shit, and they be cuddling with a woman that same night. I don't want to hear it. You niggas aren't real. Like,
But does that mean they're not shit to them, or they're just they're lonelier and biologically
Niggas
as a
just be
man you have some
bullshitting.
needs?
They
here's
just bored, bro.
here's
That's all it is.
here's the one thing that I'll say though. All right, I did an experiment last year where I did online dating for about a month, Hinge and Tinder. Right, that's the only time I ran into people like this. Just like unhinged, wild, radical, left-leaning feminists that just believe that like I exist, I showed up. Why aren't you literally licking my boots? Type beat. Okay. Other than that, when it comes to just like I guess I don't know. I do think a lot of people just spend too much time on the internet because in my
wait, can I
experience,
ask a clarifying question?
go ahead.
When with the people that you're talking about, was like the personality more so from when you were like talking, like DMing them or whatever, or also if when they were on the dates, their personality was still relatively the same?
I would say both, but in
Okay.
like I got a tempered version of it on dates, but I'd argue that I think a lot of them weren't used to dealing with someone like me. Like I don't have to take that. I'll literally just leave. Right?
Okay.
Like I'll leave. I'll get up, pay my bill, and go home, even though I drove us there. Like that's kind of nigga I am, right?
That's
And if one thing you have to know about me, because I'll never not admit this, because I think it's I don't think I can help people if I lie about how I was. I've exhibited tons of simp and beta behavior in my life. I'm not gonna act like I never did, but that was always with attention and time. One thing girls never got from me was my fucking money. You know why? I worked too damn hard for it. And you think because you put some makeup up and you showed up, you gonna get it? You wasn't with me in the gym. Don't come try to cling to me when I'm holding a Larry O'Brien. It doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. All right.
Wasn't with me shooting in the gym?
Yeah, exactly. Like so. And that's just kind of how I am. But I didn't kind of grow up in like this weird, like I don't know how to say, but like a feminine, emasculated, like toxic man. I didn't grow up that way. I was allowed to be a boy, fight, be in the dirt, come home. My jeans are stained, my pants are red, my mom pissed, my socks a completely different color. Like I got to do all that shit, and it was normal. Boys will be boys. Pain is a weakness leaving the body. Your coach is saying, no pain, no gain. I came from that school of thought. Whether you think it's right or wrong is not what I'm here to argue, but that's just how I grew up, right? And I just think that I think from a young age, and I don't blame them because I think for a long time we ran a little too rampant. Women are taught to view themselves a certain way, an elevated way, so they're not gonna settle for nonsense. I just think that like Vince always says this, and I think that I use it a lot. Overcorrection. I think you could overcorrect, and I think that's the problem. One thing that I will say is that with the feminism battery in their back, a lot of them are just a little extra unruly in the sense that it's like you would have to be like the greatest like 1% type of dude for them to really kind of act a certain type of way around you, or if they're pretty unruly. But again, I've met women who are conservative and calm and not like out here doing whatever. I've met women who are extremely promiscuous, some who just dabbled a little bit, didn't like it, some who dabbled and liked it and kept going, some who were off and on. Like I just met people from all walks of life, different creeds, religions, races, blah blah blah, yada yada. So I think within a real world perspective, my view's not skewed. I know great women, I know women who are fucking garbage. I know great men, I know men who are fucking garbage, and I know some women who are somewhere in the middle, and I know some men who are somewhere in the middle. But if you look at a lot of statistics, they would probably reflect the bad relationships that we're having because we have a lot of obviously there's so many variables you got to take into area, income, ethnicity, and stuff like that. So that's not lost on me. But we are generally unmarried, very much divorced, and having a lot of kids out of wedlock. But do you think that's reflective of our relationships being soured, or just that maybe a lot of us aren't exercising a lot of sexual discipline? We're just fucking raw and shit happens.
I mean, my answer is radical. It all goes back down to racism.
Okay.
The black family structure is constantly attacked in American society. I don't know how it is in Canada. I assume it's the same because black people are hated everywhere for whatever reason. But
I've
the
always said we're
families
bottom
have
totem
been,
pole, no matter where we are.
yeah, the families have been separated since slavery, and it continues to be separated throughout American history. Most recently being the war on drugs, where all these drugs were sprinkled into our communities, crippling the family structure, making it so that there's multiple single moms raising children on their own when it takes two to raise a child.
Statistically speaking, if you're raised in a household with both your biological parents, you're going to come out great.
Yeah, and fucking niggas getting locked up, niggas joining gangs for protection from the police, and then devolving into petty arguments with each other, and then killing each other in the streets. Everything goes back to racism. Don't let people tell you that it doesn't.
Okay. Lizard, you've been quiet for a while. Do you want to chime in at all? Is he there? He might be muted. I don't know. My bad. Vince, did you want to chime in? Is he there too? I don't know if they're muted. Let me look at Discord. I'm literally like I'm leaned the fuck back in my chair. Oh yeah, they're muted. Okay, fair enough. It just lets it
They all died.
Yeah, wait. I'm sorry. Can you just repeat the question real quick?
No, I just want to say. I just want to think if you thought that if you think that men and
My bad, guys. I'm stepping out because I'm filling out a form for school. So I might be going.
No, it's okay. Do you think, Brent? Shit. The question was basically, do you think that I wanted to ask why you think men and women relationships are so bad right now? Do you think we're really divided, or do you think that it's kind of just exacerbated by social media and the certain talking points you see on YouTube and whatnot, and it's not as bad as it seems in the real world? Like, what are your thoughts?
Real world is real. Well, real world is definitely far more less volatile than what the internet portrays it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think? I think it's hard to say at what the tensions are because it's then it becomes a relative question of compared to what, right? Where I think we're kind of like in an age of awareness that's never really been. Well, I don't want to say never been before seen, but like the age of awareness that we have been has now caused us to be more aware of a certain, I think, ways in which we interact with people, how things are, how should they be the way they are, and stuff. That I think it's natural that sparks and fights would break out as a result of it. Uh, I don't think it's as bad as most people make it out to be. Uh, but yeah, hmm.
I think I think the internet exaggerate, but the divide certainly exists. That's what Golden A
Yeah,
said.
I think it can be dangerous because I can't remember the psych term, but it's kind of like if you think about it too much, even like and repeat it over and over again, you might actually start believing or thinking the crazy shit you say,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that can create dangerous problems if
Okay.
people start acting out in the manner in which they're speaking about things on the internet. And I think in some ways we've seen this happen in not even just relationships, but just other aspects of life.
Mm-hmm. I go to a college called Morehouse, and I hear young women spew some of this nonsense in their colleague. Spellman encourages it. So,
I'm glad he said that. I'm glad he said that because that's where most of this rhetoric comes from. It comes from these liberal leaning universities who try to indoctrinate this mindset in black women that black men are the problem for their situation. And they constantly fall for this. And then they come on social media and they spew this rhetoric that they've been taught. They don't understand the underlying root of the problem.
Dang, cause that's kind of like, cause I guess with me, right? As much as I think that a lot of minorities making it a bit, I do think like when I look at statistics and a lot of men and women being like alone in their later ages and like, I think some of the richest people are very smart. So if they're doing things like getting ready to really invest in sex toys for men and women and like cat food and stuff because women tend to buy animals when they're lonely, I think there's some merit and truth to that. Is it on purpose? I can't tell yes or no, but I would argue that from what I'm seeing with with some of the younger guys that I talk to in generation is that the guys grow up very effeminate. And I'm not saying that's a bad or good thing, but they to put it bluntly, they're meek. They got no spine, no backbone, no boundaries, no standards. They just kind of adopt the happy wife, happy life mantra. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know how many men I run into with in relationships, and all I hear the girl is talk about the things he does, doesn't do, or likes. I'm like, bro, you can't talk, because I know how to pull the. I'm an asshole. I'll poke the male ego. I know how to do that. I'll be like, oh, is he mute? Like, why aren't you talking? Why are you there like behind her with your tail between your legs? You know what I'm saying? And then the women I argue have adopted a lot more leadership and masculine traits. A lot of it's understandable, especially if you're going up the corporate ladder. You got to be very disagreeable and combative and be able to negotiate certain things, right? So I just think that a lot of men are being taught the wrong thing on one side, and women are being taught, because it's sometimes where I'll say something to somebody, and I believe that they're hearing it for the very first time, like you being a doctor and stuff. I respect that. I respect your educational career and your pathway here. You being a doctor does not make you any more or less attractive to me. I just care about how you fucking look. I don't care that you did this. It's not moving me. If you worked at Walmart and looked like this, I still want to smash. And they were like baffled by what I was saying. You could have been the janitor at Walmart. I'm still wanting to dig in them cheeks. You feel what I'm saying? And then like I might say something on the flip side to a man, and they're like, really? As like why do you think because she gets good grades and plays in band that she's not out here sucking dick? Who told you that? What does a person who has sex looks like? They're just human. Why do you think because default to this nerd archetype she's not out here doing this? Like, and they're like in disbelief, like, what? It's like, I think I don't know where that comes from. I don't know, because a lot of them grow up in like single parent households or whatever. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's what I was gonna ask for the men that are meek.
Yeah,
Were they raised by their mothers?
typically single mom. Yes, so they're
That's exactly what the problem starts right there.
that is the biggest common denominator that I do see. It's not necessarily to say the dad's not around, but they're usually with the mother. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I completely agree on it, but I think it does, and society encourages them to believe and enforce their perception of reality. Yeah, they do. Like social media, main social media, and online positive affirmation continues to put that battery in their back to keep going with the bad behavior that they're already exhibiting. And then the reason why I tend to feel bad, because a lot of them will not get the result they truly want, even if they don't understand it, because of the way that they're moving through life. Because I could say something as simple as this, right? I truly don't care what I grew up surrounded by promiscuous people. I'd be a hypocrite to tell you this and that and the third, so I don't care. If your body count is 100, great for you. I'll never marry you. I'm not dating you. Well, no. It doesn't matter what you say. You can say I have the smallest cock in the world for having this mindset. That's how I think. You can't change that. No matter what the world tells you, you cannot change how I think biologically, how I think as a man. I could end up with somebody who's selling me purity and lying to me, but I want to be with somebody who's not rated E for everyone. I'm sorry. I think one of the biggest realities that a lot of women that I talk to don't hate is the sexual double standard that works in men's favor. And I'm sorry. double standards exist on both sides of the spectrum. There's tons of things that, as being a man, doesn't work in my favor. I don't bitch about this reality. It just is what it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is one of those because I've asked, because I've done my own research. I've seen it. I've asked. You want the guy with 50 bodies? You're the virgin. The guy with 50 bodies most of the time. There's some girls who said I want to mold the virgin to please me or whatever. But they're like, no, I want a guy with experience. And if you ask me, I'll take a virgin every time. Right? So, anyways,
kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. You kind of crazy.
I've
Oh my
I've
God.
already done it, and it's like with that, I can just teach you how to please me. So I don't care about other niggas. So yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
the opposite. I don't give a fuck. I'm different. I don't care. It means absolutely nothing to me.
You know that on both sides of the spectrum, technically speaking, the more partners that you have, the harder it is for you to engage in a committed relationship. It's harder for you to pair bond.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
when you end up with a virgin, like you, especially for on the woman's side, you take a woman's virginity, she's gonna become crazy over you.
Hey Naya,
What's up?
I'm a likable guy. Ha ha.
Men and women are different, though. Yes, Golden Ace. I don't. Women's good is inherently the issue with the mindset that comes with it. Yeah, that's kind of where I was gonna go. Cause like, okay, so I'll say, I'm not gonna go into the last topic. We'll keep it at this, and we'll just move on. Cause I need to eat. I'm tired. I have to cook something. I actually didn't, whatever. But, yeah, we're different. We're not the same. We're not attracted by the same things often than not. Like I always do this, right? I go general first because biologically speaking, as men and women, we have a lot of commonality and overlap. I know everyone's different. You know, you might like a muscular guy, you might like a guy with a lot of hair or whatever. Like, I understand all those things, but like, I go general, and that's with historical precedent, statistics, and facts. Then you kind of move into culture. So where you come from and what are the prevailing things that are demonized and things that are held up on a pedestal. Did you grow up in an environment where cheating was so normal to you? It just like the idea of being faithful doesn't even make sense. That's the culture you grew up in, right? Then I'll take your like personal psychology and socialization, who you grew up with, what you learned, the school you went to, what you're into, stuff like that, and then that's when you tailor suit it to that person specifically. I think you got to go wide, and then you got to hone in, and that's kind of what I do when I'm looking at this stuff. So, I think the biggest issue that I see is like, and I don't like when men do this because I actually think this is a bozo question for the most part, but I understand the real intent behind it, which is body count. I've never asked this question seriously. I don't actually care a fuck what your body count is. However, I resent the idea that I should not care about your previous dating history and how your mindset has evolved, devolved, or simply stayed stagnant as you navigated the dating minefield.
There you go.
Did that improve? Did you keep fucking with the same type of nigga in a different body and taking no accountability? That's the thing I care about. I hear a lot of women say, your past doesn't matter because I'm your present and your future. I think that's offensive. You don't care about the 29 years of life that I've lived, the trials and tribulations that I've gone through from top to bottom, but okay, we'll keep it in the dating minefield that I went through, and to become the person I am today, you don't give a damn. I don't want you. You should care. I think that's illogical, personally speaking. And now, if this is a girl you're just hanging out with, friends of benefits, you're knocking it down, protect yourself, and who cares? If it's someone you actually want to be with long term, possibly forever, then I understand having to inquire about those things. But it makes no sense going on a date with someone you don't want to be with and being like, "What's your body count? Like, you're unserious." So yeah,
I agree. Oh man, I don't care about body count at all. But if you dated 5 dudes in a row and they all just suck, I'm gonna look at you funny.
Exactly.
Because you might also be a loser. So.
You're the common denominator in a lot of ways, you know. So
I might have to avoid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like.
But Yeah, I guess Vince is still signing his paper and stuff. I don't know if you. I know Lizard. This is not one of the things you tend to care about, but if you want to chime in, you can. If not, I'll wrap this up.
I just have to say something about. Though I just want to say, like, obviously it's not a topic that not going to do that thing. But I think you the hypocritical thing. Like, let's say you say you care, like I'm gonna talk about it in the guy perspective. Like, if a guy says, a girl can't have this many bodies, but he's being a slut himself. You know what I mean? Like, I just find that shit funny. Like, be
I think it's. I
like
think
if you
you
can
only find that. I don't say you find it funny, but I just think that it's just the weird double standard that works in our one of the few that works in men's favor. We
I
don't.
mean,
I
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
I don't. Like I don't want to say like I devalue you, but the more partners you have, the less likely you could ever be a long term partner for me. And it's just the way I am. I don't know why I think that way. If I know a girl has been
Uh,
rated E for everybody, I have no interest in being with her forever at all. That's just how I am. I don't know. I think it's biological personally.
and
And then I don't know if you know about this stuff too, but apparently a lot of that stems from our need to know that if we're with somebody, the kid is ours. I can't remember what the fuck did Rolo say in the Rational Male. I can't remember the fucking line. It was such a good chapter too, but it has
See,
a
that's
lot of.
probably why I'm good. I don't want kids.
You see, I want three,
um,
so yeah.
yeah. Also to add, let's see. Oh yeah, I also think it's important. And I think the body question is stupid. Is fucking what stupid. But I think health wise, being able to hey, this guy or girl has been with multiple partners. Maybe I should make sure that they're STDs and stuff like that. I think health wise is important. Though I think it's still important even if the guy has one partner. Like, you have to be safe, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every single situation's a very weird, unique one because I don't care about body counts, but again, I think the manner in which you approach even just the sexual experiences is probably important.
Yeah.
So,
You c- Like
are
I
you
like
are
I
you an
trivialized
individual?
sex for a long time.
Yeah, like my thing is like, do you have a healthy enough relationship that you can admit the manner in which why you did it, why you did it, and you're comfortable and okay with it and can deal with this in a normal and healthy manner? Or are you someone that, loves sex but can't present it to the world, so you hide this shit in and like you go through a lot of hoops and shit to like do all, you know what I mean? I think the manner in which you have the relationship with sex and how you've dealt with partners is also a very important thing to take in consideration.
Hmm. Yeah, and like have you had STDs and UTI? Well, not UTI, sorry, STDs and
Yeah,
STIs stuff like
get your
that. Like
test.
yeah, like those are the type of things I care about. Like how because my general issue is like I'm somebody who was in that promiscuous world or whatever, but like I always admit that the reason that I was able to kind of stay focused the way that I did, even at my horniest and most. See, here's the thing. I never like saying that I was young and dumb because I was never fucking stupid. I was always highly intelligent, but I was misguided and inexperienced. I needed someone to help me navigate through this stuff, but because I was just ping ponging everywhere and kind of being like an ant being swept up by like a storm, kind of like I. But even at that, because I one thing I never wanted to have kids out of wedlock. That was so important to me. You have no idea because I come from a blended family and I know what it did to us. I hate it. I never wanted to be a part of one or raise one or be in a blended family. That's why I was so careful. And I painfully learned early in life how much the world does not care about men. So I have to protect me. I don't expect anyone to protect me. I don't care about black women protecting black men. None of that shit matters to me because I'll protect me. I got friends and people who will ride for me, and that's all I need. All right. So with that being said, I ain't diving in there raw. I'm putting the same armor on. Don't understand what's wrong with niggas. Nigga just out here slinging raw. I'm like,
Are
bro,
you
that's
wearing
why you have the
protection?
itchy, scratchy show. This is why she's knocked up. This is why you're a single dad and you didn't want to be at 23. Why you looking at me? What do you want me to do?
I'm sorry, Naya. When you said that, I actually thought of the DBZ bridge where he's like, "Are you wearing
I wearing my armor. Yeah, that's why I said it. That's why I said it. So yeah. 99% chance you don't have kids. Not for us, not at the moment. Just want to go see the world and experience something. You want a cat though. I actually do see a lot of people just travel the world and have fun and whatever. And that's for you, and that can change later on. But I think, I realized through therapy, I always wanted a minimum 2 kids, a boy and a girl. But I'm not willing to try more than like 3 times.
I have returned after
So
filling out my fast reform.
do you wanna chime in on the last topic, Vince, or no? You wanna just
Absolutely, depending on what it is. What it is.
it's I was we're basically speaking on men and women's relationships. Is it as bad as the internet or YouTube talking spaces and whatnot makes it seem? Are we actually
Absolutely
very
not.
divided? Like, what are your general thoughts?
Well, I mean, we're divided, but it's not as. We obviously can't agree on a lot of stuff, but men and women have never agreed on a lot of stuff. I, I say it's not as bad as the argumentative spaces that we get into, because the way they be talking, especially on Twitter, for example, men and women just shouldn't date each other, or they be talking or like some extreme people talking like they don't like men, but at the end of the day, most of them are gonna date a man.
Mm-hmm.
We talking like, oh, I hate men. See, for me, it's just like I try to ignore it because most of that's not real. They just saying that.
That's what I said, bro. It's
I
not
think,
real.
yeah. For me though, it's annoying. It's a I don't want to say a dangerous rhetoric, but it's not a good rhetoric. Because I think you saying that all the time, you're feeding into other girls' mind, stuff like that. I think we're just not having good discussions about it. Like the discussions on this space are just.
I think the
No
talking
nuance,
points are
no.
all disingenuous with an obvious agenda on
Right,
both sides of the
right.
spectrum.
I
I'll tell
agree.
you after you're done what I think, what I
Gotcha,
see.
but I don't think that it's just not good because like you're there. Yeah, I hate men, and that's okay. Like you said, like one time, just like you just hate your dad and stuff like that. Like no, you don't. So it's just like that's just all Twitter stuff. Like, and I get it. Like there are definitely a lot of men that do, but come on, man, this should be like. And the thing is just like you're fully expected to be like, well, if it doesn't apply to you, don't say anything about it. Like, like that. I think that's kind of a silly like argument, personally. Like, it doesn't apply to you to say something about it. Like, why do you have to? Why do I have to see this? Like, this is annoying. Like, I know it's your page and stuff like that, but it's still annoying. But that's why at the same time,
I personally adopt that philosophy,
block, or
but I understand more why people don't like it though.
Oh no, I mean,
No. Again, I think
I'm fine
both.
with them.
You take whatever works for you, bro. But I'm just saying, like,
I just get annoyed with it. Like, I would get annoyed. Who always tweeting about I need a girlfriend, I want a girlfriend. Like half the time you tweet crazy stuff, going to girls' DMs crazy, and say a bunch of misogynistic stuff. Of course, you don't have a girlfriend. This is obvious. This is not like it's not math, my boy. So just like I'm just annoyed equally, and I think that's sometimes the problem. People think like, oh, you just be annoyed with it. I'm like, no, all of you are annoying.
all of you are ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when like I
Each
honestly,
and every last one of you.
yeah, like honestly, I think recently I keep getting somewhat accused of being more right wing. I'm like, no, I think everyone here is ridiculous. I don't like anyone here. I just my only
Yeah,
reason,
I told you that was gonna happen.
the only that's fine, but the only the only reason that I just look everywhere, but like because they tend to talk with more stats and statistics, that just makes more sense to me naturally instead of like emotional testimony. That's all it is. But
I just don't like the way because they don't use it. They use it out.
they
Pat
do
knows-
it. Yes,
Pat
I
knows
know
what
they
I'm
do it.
talking about.
They do it in an intellectually dishonest way. That's not lost on me. I know.
Yeah,
The
that's my
danger
only
about stats,
problem.
man. You can use them for anything.
Yeah, but that's why like I'm literally working on a video to show people how to tell if an article or something they're reading is charged, done in bad faith, and or intellectually dishonest. I'm working on it. Like I'm very tired of people being fucking dumb as shit, just reading some fucking article and being like, you see. I'm like, bro.
Yeah,
Are you
same.
kidding me?
My problem is usually mostly is when we're talking about the deaths of black. They're always just like black people kill more black people and white people kill more white people. Like what are we doing?
I've always thought the black and black stuff is stupid because it's like if you know Chinese people probably kill mostly Chinese people in China and stuff like that. Like
It's a racist rhetoric used to
against
make
yes
black people seem less than human,
yeah
and it doesn't exist.
yeah
It's proximity crime.
And then also
Exactly.
it's just like, and then it's also just like so we're getting the information from the same people who kill black people. That don't make no sense.
But but yeah, I definitely. So here's what I think, right? Because here's a very underlining tone that I noticed. The common denominator I noticed with all of with red pill manosphere. I don't know what the girls call it. Boss girl, glam girl.
They have their own. They
you
have their own version of that.
youth, yeah, of course.
I don't be paying attention.
Bro, you have really, bro. There's
Not
literally
not for that.
there's
They just
literally
normally
dating
talk
coaches
like
just
that.
like, listen, first of all, if he don't treat you to $1,000 day on the first day, he's not the one. Like shit like
No,
that.
I know I've seen that. I guess I've seen it. I just didn't name.
I don't know if they have a name for it. I don't know. I'll have to look that
Okay,
up.
okay.
But
I was
I,
thinking
I
they just
just I
always
just
they
call
just
it I
all
just
talk.
call it feminism. But
I was thinking they just all talk like that. So like,
mhm. I hope you posted soon, Cincinnati. I got my own hamster wheel to go tomorrow. See y'all later. All right, I will, I will. But it's not disingenuous. There are problems, big problems, and a lot of people are harassment. There's a lot of attention seeker, yeah, but there are real problems that change the society and society. Most people are give it ish. I do, but I just think a lot of things that people do are not real. They're just doing it for attention. But okay, so here's it is. Here it is, right? So for the women, what they want to be able to do is have as many sexual partners and experiences as they literally want and be completely open armly accepted by the man they love, admire, respect, which tends to be at least a 20%er. So he's
It's
probably
not
gonna
going to
be
happen.
he's probably gonna be 6 feet at minimum, making six figures minimum, and stuff like that. That's what they want. And especially guys who have worked themselves to that level, especially if they were socially calibrated well, because I do think that some guys are easy targets, which is why I hate the idea of focus on your craft and your work, and just the thing will come. And it's like you have to actually navigate the dating minefield and the working space at the same time, because then you become an easy target with money at like 30 if you have no experience with women. And most people have to wear multiple hats and masks in life. You're a father, a brother, a sibling. Oh, sorry, that's the same thing. Sorry. A teacher, a worker, or whatever. You don't just get to be computer coder guy more often. You still got to engage with other people. So you got to learn how to balance those things, right? But that's the general gist of it. They just want to be able to do that with no accountability, no ramifications, no repercussions. Even if they had one or two kids with two different people, and it's like, you millionaire man, yeah, me, I'm the one, and we're like, no, and they're like, well, what the fuck is wrong with you, right? So that's them, and the men just want them to like not have sex. It's just like, stop, stop being promiscuous, like. And I'm just like, that's naive and unrealistic as well. So like, I just think they're both on both sides of the spectrum. When I get to the nitty gritty, like the underlying common denominator that I see between all these talking spaces, those are the two major things that I see overlap all the time. And I think it's unrealistic on both sides. Like, women could do whatever the hell they want, you can't stop them, and men can do whatever the hell they want and think what they want, and you can't stop them. Though I do see it working on men more than I see it working on women, because I start to see a lot of like feminist men are like the weirdest men to me, because I just don't believe half of them. I think they're weasels,
all
and they
bad
and they think
people.
and they think by like aligning themselves with the feminist talking points that they'll get whatever. But when I talk to women who and they're like, I hate male feminists. They're not
Yeah,
real
they're
men to me.
weird.
They
Yeah.
like create the men they don't want, which I always found very
Wait,
very
wait,
interesting. So what?
which, which feminists are we talking about?
Modern feminism.
What do you mean?
Like the one, like, are we talking about ones that actually are are part of actual feminism? What it means, where they just want actual, just normal, like, equal shit?
What do
Or are we
you
talking about
actually? What do
feminists
you?
that,
What
or
do you
feminists
tend?
that
What
want
do you tend to see, realistically? A fight for power, not and control, right?
realistically? I see most women that I know that are feminists be normal. They just want like normal shit. Online, I see it
Okay,
as an
that's fair.
exaggeration.
That's
Yeah,
actually pretty fair.
I
But
see an
most women in my
exaggeration.
life are not feminists. They don't like it, actually. So
I've known a lot of feminists, especially from college, but most of them were like, it's more just calling out just dumb shit, and none of them like actually wanted to like. I think the feminism we see online is more of they want to prop themselves up to actually like be like, we just shit on men and we're better than men just as a whole, rather
I, per-
than
I
just
I personally think this is that's probably the one thing I see bleed into real life, because when I talk to them, I can tell that they're super charged with certain talking points, and that makes sense. But I hear what you're saying though. Definitely online
No,
exacerbates
yeah,
the shit
I would
more.
agree with that. It's definitely far more blending.
And,
Yeah,
and,
I
and
can
again,
see
if
that.
people want to fight for equality, I just don't think they truly understand what that means. You know, if we really do this, like, I want to be very clear. Women have to start arguing against themselves. You know that, right? And they're not doing that, so it's not real feminism to me. If I stab a nigga and you stab a nigga, I get more jail time. You gonna fight for increased jail time? No, the fuck you're not. Stop it. Feminism not real, bro. Sorry, it's not real no more. They lost the plot during like the third wave. But okay.
Are you saying feminism is Tower of God?
I say feminism is toxic. Toxic femininity. All right. I need a place to go to into talks. Not okay. I hear you. Where the problem is, maybe you don't choose the words advocates. Yeah, I got you. Basic talking readers who know what they're talking about. Yeah, we need way more agendas and media to give a genuine, unbiased perspective. Yeah, we don't get that enough. But thank you guys for listening. I know this was like different than what we tend to do and stuff. Let me know what you thought about it. If you're fucking with it, because I probably will never do this more than twice in a month, but at least like once a month and stuff. Where we're just talk about more realistic things, you know, politics, dating, fitness. We'll do some finance stuff the next time and everything too. It's obviously not my expertise, so it's why I tend to need somebody who kind of knows it to kind of tag along with me. But like, you know, I can navigate the other things too. Well, you guys got any final words?
Yeah. I just want to let you guys know, Naya hated the idea of doing fairy tales so badly he'd rather talk about real life.
Yo, that research history isn't happening, eh? I swear I don't know what's going on with that one. Pat, final words.
I have one final word. Everything that you see in society is rooted in white supremacy and racism. If you think that it's not, you need to get a fucking clue.
Lizard?
Down with capitalism.
Vince?
Hey, we speaking fact. Okay, facts on facts.
Nothing matters. We're all gonna die.
Hey, it's a turkey.
My final words is actually my final thing is like a quick little South Park thing that I think was really funny. You know the character Token, right? The Token black guy.
Yeah.
There was I caught up recently when I was watching Archer and South Park and stuff.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
His name is actually Tolkien, like the writer, like. And it was like, did you know his name was the Token? It was actually like they're like, yes, and he's like, yo, like, oh my god, I'm racist. That shit was so fucking funny, bro. Oh my goodness. All right.